It's the middle of the week. Welcome to Wednesday on the AM show. Boy, are we glad to be here. Tired or not, we're here doing what we do best. My name is Benjamin Akakwa. I'm always in the company of Bernice Abubedu Lanza, and we are glad that you've chosen us for company this morning. Now, the news will come your way shortly. Right after that, we'll be joined by political scientist and director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. He will be our guest as we review the papers. But then we get into our big stories. And first on the chopping block, we'll be telling you about that latest report revealing that in the third quarter of 2022, around 1.5 million young people aged between 15 and 24, constituting 24.2% of that age group, were not involved in education, employment, or training. Now, what did that lead to? We'll be telling you about the regions with the highest proportions of disengaged youth. We're talking about the Greater Accra, Ashanti, Eastern, and Central regions. Joining us for that all-important conversation, if you're a youth, you should pay attention to that. Dr. Pearl Che, she is lecturer, Regional Institute for Population Studies at the University of Ghana. But then we take a look at something that troubles all of us, whether you drive or get driven. Malfunctioning traffic lights here in Accra. And motorists are complaining that these lights could lead to accidents on the roads, and validly so. We'll be checking out a few of them and speaking to the relevant authorities on what exactly is going on and why we find ourselves in this state. Well, today being a Wednesday as well, we'll go business-wise. AM Business is brought to you courtesy of Ecobank, the Pan-African Bank, and we'll be coming your way with that. Some players within the business community have been sharing their expectations for the 2023 mid-year budget review. They want government to find diverse ways of addressing Ghana's economic issues rather than focusing solely on the introduction of new taxes. We'll be bringing you that together with an interaction with the National Development Conference authorities. Now, Ghana continues to face serious developmental challenges despite recent growth record rates. We'll be telling you why the Church of Pentecost has waded into the fray. As always, we'd love to hear from you, so share your thoughts with us in the course of the show, and let's do this for God and country. Up next, the news. Welcome on the AM News. Now, in our first story, the parents of a 10-day-old baby who died at the KNUST hospital in Kumasi say they are devastated following the death of their child. The baby was sent to the facility for a male circumcision procedure, but hospital sources say he suffered a cardiac arrest and died a few minutes later. Oheming Tewia of our health desk now reports.
On April 3, 2023, Mohammed Jamal and Halimatu Adams took their son, Faraj Mohammed, to the KNUST hospital for a simple procedure, male circumcision. The baby was received by a nurse who took him to the theater for the procedure.
Third April, no near Joadanopa. Na akulanya 10 days. Into a yadrin say, you're for circumcision. You jara krano you ho den bibia hano na de no call Tech Hospital. You de no call hospital no omo ochire theater ma ye call ho e ma nurse ne no abeji akola no hwe no nti oje akola no eyi ne diaper no e ro na ta de hwe akola no hwe ne diaper hwe ne be ma ho nyina o hwe na o si bibia ye okay.
The wild cry of the baby was heard for the last time by the parents, who were then seated at the waiting area of the theater. Then, some senior nurses and doctors were seen rushing into the theater, a development which made the parents distraught. The baby's mother, Halimatu Adams, knew something bad had happened to the baby, but had to endure a long wait to hear news about her son.
Dr. Neka Sakra, Mama Nan Kasensi, or Kasana, Namika say, Gotcha said, Doctor, catch him semi banu because no my feeling say, I'm Pabibi, I am a pam.
The thought of losing their only male child under bizarre circumstances has left the couple traumatized.
The feeling or the pain that you go through, unless you experience it, because it's something you cannot even express it. What you go through, the psychological pains, the trauma that you go through any night, when you hear the cry of the child, the pains and even you can't do anything, you can't focus.
Authorities at the KNUST hospital have declined comments on the mother. The university relations officer says the matter has been referred to the legal department of the university. But a patient-centered non-governmental group is leading a campaign to bring justice to the Jamals. The Advocacy for Medical Malpractice Victims says it can establish a prima facie case against KNUST Hospital. Kwame Brobe Apia is the executive secretary.
From all indications, the hospital was negligent in the conduct of the circumcision. So we believe strongly that we will be able to establish a prima facie case against the hospital. The little checks that we have made with the hospital, the indications are that one, the person that supposedly conducted the procedure was not an expert in that field, and the person was unqualified to take up that particular exercise. Then again, we are also told that they actually did not procure the informed consent of the parents, because it's important to let them know the risk associated with the procedure and then any other outcome that they are likely to have before the process is done. That wasn't done. Also, from the investigations we have done, we know for a fact that they actually did not take the history of the baby before proceeding to undertake the procedure. If that had been done, I am sure a lot of these issues would have been averted.
Checks at the health ministry indicate medical legal cases are on the rise in the country. In recent times, at least 2 medical legal cases are received every week, a development which has left Health Minister Kwaku Agyeman worried.
What I'm seeing of late in the ministry are issues of litigation. For the past 4 weeks or so, almost every week, we get at least one letter from the Attorney General's office. Somebody has sued somebody with problems with care, service delivery, and they want us to come with information for them to go to court with. Then we'll refer to Director General or Kumabwaji. But I've been with you for the past 6 years. Earlier when I came in, those things were not happening that much. But now it's become something, it's just climbing, it's becoming very common.
From Kumasi, for Joy News, Oimeteria reporting.
Now, the Ghana Health Service says most Ghanaians are yet to fully vaccinate against the COVID-19 virus. The country is still far behind in achieving its COVID-19 vaccination target. The service says this leaves the country vulnerable to the virus. Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaje, was speaking at the launch of the 7th National COVID-19 Vaccination Campaign.
Only 10.8 million of the population in Ghana have been vaccinated against COVID-19, representing 34%. 13.9 million have received just 1 dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. The Ghana Health Service is not happy with the development. The service has therefore launched the 7th edition of its COVID-19 vaccination campaign. The target is to administer 1 million doses of vaccines to individuals above the age of 15. Director of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaje, says a lot of work needs to be done to reach herd immunity.
Nearly 26 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine have reached almost 14 million persons, out of which 10 million persons are fully vaccinated. And as was said earlier, this represents about 59.4% of the target. While this is commendable achievement, the country is still far from achieving its national target. This means that the whole population still stands at the risk of a likely event of new variants as COVID-19 remains extremely unpredictable. And I must say, as you saw the program manager present, This total dose represents about 34.46% of the population. What it means is that almost 70%, or a little over 60% of the population are unvaccinated.
He indicated that misinformation is hindering many individuals from getting vaccinated.
Well, I think that's always been the misinformation, and then the fear, and then the low-risk perception. The low-risk perception is the thing that is going to happen to you, but not me. But what we have noticed is that when the vaccines are taken close to them, we are able to overcome that challenge. Because that's why we are doing outreaches to the people to ensure that even though they may not feel that they are not at risk, but if the vaccine is provided, they are willing to go. They may not travel to go and queue and have it, but if the vaccine is taken to them, and that approach has really helped us, and we continue enforcing that until we meet our targets that we set ourselves.
Manager of the expanded program on immunization, Dr. Kwame Amponsa Achiano outlined strategies to attain the vaccination target during the campaign.
We want to deploy approximately 5,000 and over vaccination teams with over 1,000 supervisors across all the levels from national, regional, districts, sub-districts, using almost 23,000 healthcare workers and volunteers nationwide. We are aiming to vaccinate approximately 40 persons per team of vaccinators per day. And of course, we will ensure that these teams are visible.
The vaccination campaign is scheduled to kick off from July 19 to July 23. Esther Nkrumah's report read to you.
In our next story, the majority in Parliament, for the first time since the minority started boycotting Parliament over James Gyakye-Quayson's trial, proceeded with business. The House took questions, laid papers, and discussed statements. Though the House fell short of considering much weightier business like bills, it's a significant turn from the past when it just adjourned the House whenever the NDC group abstained from sittings. Majority Chief Whip Frank Anodompre clearly told the NDC that, quote, "The Parliament of Ghana cannot wait for you."
Our colleagues in the minority, and they have elected not to be present. So that the Parliament of this Republic cannot wait for them. And hence, as often been the practice, want to appeal to you that the answers to these questions be published, except for question 1405, which stands in the name of the Honorable Vincent. So for Speaker, to your leave.
Now, among the key business the House considered was a statement from the Food and Agriculture Ministry on the debt owed to suppliers of the buffer stock company. According to the Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Brian Champong, the suppliers will be paid today.
Buffer stock has made payments in respect of 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021 in full. Mr. Speaker, in 2022, of the 726,617,881 Ghana cedis, 500 million cedis has been paid to the suppliers. We still owe suppliers a little north of 203 million Ghana cedis. Such release, Mr. Speaker, we've sent to finance, and last week we received 100 million, which is 50% of what is due the suppliers. We have transferred same through the processes to buffer stock. We're hoping that, Mr. Speaker, by the midweek this week, that 50% will be sent to suppliers. Mr. Speaker, I have also assured the suppliers that by the 17th of August, as we commence the payment of the 50%, 17th of July, by the 17th of August, the remaining 50% will be paid. Mr. Speaker, we have kept faith with the buffer stock suppliers. As I mentioned, the total business that they've done with the buffer stock company is to the tune and exact 2,705,408,476 cedis and 58 pesos, 2.7 billion, out of which 2.5 billion has been made. And we will pay the remaining, the 200 million that is submitted to us in full by the end of August. We commence payment hopefully by Wednesday, and in a month's time, the total payment will be made. We don't have challenges with the suppliers, so we are extremely surprised about the happenings in the last 2 weeks, but we take it in good faith and we continue to work with them.
Now, a dean of the Faculty of Biosciences at the University for Development Studies, Professor Elliot Haruna Al-Hassan, has called on the African Union to pay attention to the peace in the Central African region, considering the importance of that region to Africa's water resources. He says, if there is ever any shortage of water in Africa, this is the only region that water can be found in. Professor Elliot wants the AU to ensure that the security of that region is protected. He's been speaking at the University for Development Studies in Tamale.
The topic for the 15th inaugural lectures was Life Below Water, the development and trajectory of Ghana's inland fisheries. Professor Elliot Haruna Al-Hassan said security of the Central African Republic region therefore must be of paramount to the African body.
The Central African sub-region and the countries in this sub-region are Angola, Burundi, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Chad, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Rwanda, and Sao Tome and Principe. That tells us that the African Union should be interested in the peace and security of these countries in Africa, because when there's no peace, anytime there's water shortage in Africa, that's the only part of Africa we can go to import water. So we need to make sure that we safeguard the peace and security in this part of our continent.
Professor Elliot also raised concerns over the destruction of Ghana's water bodies and its effect on aquatic life.
Aquatic ecosystems are diverse, including coastal waters, fresh waters, and brackish, as well as marine ecosystems. They support a diversity of fisheries resources, which serve as food for man, fish as surrogate and research organ, fish as early warning signals, fish as medicine, fish as in biotechnology, fish as biological indicators and supporting ecosystem function. These ecosystems also provide significant ecosystem services to man, including navigation of transport, water abstraction for domestic and industrial use, control of climate and diseases, regulating food web dynamics and nutrient balances, recreation, and of course, hydropower generation. Unfortunately, most of our inland waters, especially rivers, have been subjected to habitat degradation and aquatic pollution through illegal small-scale mining, popularly known in Ghana as galamsey, with consequent adverse impacts on water quality, aquatic life, and even humans.
He said illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing accounted for 53% of Ghana's reported fish catch, something he said was worrying.
Mr. Chairman, the big threat to life below water is overfishing and unsustainable aquaculture. A majority of fisheries, over 80% of asset stocks, are fully fished, overfished today. Illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, otherwise known as IUU fishing, accounts for as much as 53% of reported catch. Sustainable fishing, Mr. Chairman, therefore means leaving enough fish in the ocean and inland waters, respecting habitats, and ensuring people who depend on fishing can maintain their livelihoods. A conventional idea of a sustainable fishery is one that is harvested at a sustainable rate, where the fish population does not decline over time. Sustainable fishing contributes to global food security, prevent protein demand shifting on land, and causing further deforestation. Sustainability in fisheries combines theoretical disciplines, such as population dynamics of fishes, with practical strategies including avoiding overfishing through techniques, such as individual fishing quotas, curtailing destructive and illegal fishing practices by lobbying with appropriate law and policy.
The Vice Chancellor of the UDS, Professor Saidu Al-Hassan, praised Professor Elliott for his contribution in the area of aquatic life.
All his publications were relevant to the area Professor Shida is looking at, for that's fisheries and aquatic sciences. So, with all his publications, he told me he has about 72 publications. They are all in that area: fisheries, aquatic science. How many of us do that? That is very good.
And it's on that aquatic note that we wrap up the news this morning. But do stay with us. Shortly, we serve you the news review. Hi there, welcome aboard the News Review, and we host Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. He is a political scientist, also director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. But before I go to him, this segment is always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Here's what they're offering you. If you're a man, prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, fertility screening for free. And here's where you can locate them. Here in Accra, they are at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. In Kumasi, Kronum Abwehia behind the Angel Educational Complex. In Takrady, Anaji Estates. There's also Tema Community 22, Tichiman Hanswa and Esiama and Zima. Their phone lines are the numbers you can call: 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the top of the morning and the start of the news review. A very good morning to you, Doc.
Good morning, Ben. How are you, my brother?
We did. Over the weekend, I saw something that reminded me of your fish farm. You know, there are these point and kill places, and I saw something, and this was catfish, and it just reminded me of your own fish farms. Is it tilapia you do, or catfish as well?
Catfish.
Catfish.
Yeah. I'm about to introduce tilapia.
Right.
Going through the process.
I just did a bit of research when I saw this. I did a bit of research on this, and I realized that, look, it's not an easy space to be in. Some people may think, oh, yeah, you get the fingerlings and you're good to go. Catfish are carnivorous, so you lose some of them through cannibalism if you are not careful. Then you have to feed them. When they are young, there are specifics you have to feed them. When they are older, there are specifics you have to feed them. If you buy proper feed, as in per their weight, and give it to them right from the start, you will incur huge losses. I mean, how have you been able to sustain this?
You know, I have read extensively on that, and I also engage those who are stakeholders and who have knowledge in the business, and then practice. Through observation, I've been able to learn a lot. I have a diary, farm diary, that I record every happenings, and then I go and ask questions and I seek answers. And thank God, those I consult, they are ready to assist me at all times. And it's interesting.
So finally, I'm just curious, and who knows, by having this conversation, maybe someone may be inspired to go into it. Maybe that could be your calling. But for how long have you done this, and how many catfish averagely do you have now?
I started last year, and you know, I have about I think a little about 4,000 pieces. Yes, and we are moving on. Yes, we are moving on.
Well,
the difficulty with that industry is feed. Is so expensive, and then you need to be able to get some substitute, and that is what I am working on. But feeding is a problem because per bag you are running over 300, and if you should keep them for about 6 months, you know what we are talking about. For each pond that contains over about 1,000 pieces of fish, then where they consume about 1 bag per day, and it's over 300, about 320 thereabouts for about 6 months, 8 months. You need a lot of money to inject into the process. But all in all, if you are able to manage it prudently and ensure that you do what is needful, I have no doubt in my mind that you are home and dry at the end of the day.
I do know that, just to cap off this end of the conversation, I do know that at some points, the initial stages with the fingerlings, some people even feed them maggots and others, which is common in fish farming. I don't know whether you've considered that. And I also know that if you grow them and you sell them fresh as they are, you lose a chunk of the money because when they come into the cities, there's a lot of value added. Sometimes these point and kill points, of course, they'll kill them, process them, dress them up, roast or put them in an oven and all of that, and then they pass them on. Even more, there are those who process them for export because they engage parties outside the country, and that is the best. So adding value always is the way to go. But anyway,
I'm exploring all those options. I have a cousin in the United Kingdom trying to see the European market. And then also there's an NGO that walks people through a training of smoking them and adding value. My wife has decided that he will also join with the smoking angle, and then we are good to go. The whole idea is that to be able to build something that it can get people employed and then introduce to the youth, and then let them finish school and get into something that is of economic benefit. Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't plan on going down this road this morning, but I have because it just came to mind right when we started. And who knows who may have been excited about it and who could be pumping money into that. Of course, it will create jobs and also maybe help beat down the prices of catfish out there. But two quick things I want you to look at for me in a minute and a half, if you can. Parliament, the minority is still staying away from Parliament. For the first time yesterday, the majority sat in Parliament. They initiated business. Of course, there were some things they were not able to do because of the numbers. And then, on the other hand, the mid-year budget review. It's slated for the 25th of this month. Yesterday, I was here having an interaction together with George Riafe of our business desk and with major stakeholders on what to expect. Some people say clearly, we don't need any more taxes. What are your expectations on these two?
Yeah, I will touch on the NDC boycott. Yes, it's part of a strategy in Parliament to boycott, to stage a walkout and all that, to champion a cause that you believe in strongly. The NDC feel that there's a need to give their colleague moral support in court and all that. But for how long they will be able to stay out of Parliament is the problem, because per the rules governing their work there, that is from the standing orders, once you hit a number of days, you have sent yourself from Parliament, then you will be sanctioned in that. But
they could be absent with permission. That is different.
Yeah, but the permission, who is going to grant that? If you look at the conversation in Parliament and all that.
So the Speaker was merely alerting them that if you're going to do this, then let me remind you, you have a 15 day or 15 appearance deadline, sort of, or room within which to operate. So if you're going to do this, then you must trigger the necessary processes. I believe that was what happened in Parliament.
Yes, but there are strategies here. They will come in when they are getting close to the deadline.
Yes.
And they will stay away. When they are getting closer to the deadline, they come in and then they come on and off. That's what I'm expecting will happen. But, they cannot stay out of Parliament forever. And majority can also not work without them, because even the start of work of Parliament, you need a quorum, about 1/3 of members of Parliament. You are talking about over 90 people in Parliament, and that is going to be a problem. You can start and gloss over, but somebody can trigger a legal process, and that will abort all there is that you have done.
Right.
So that is also there. It also affects certain bills. If you're talking about financial bills, you need the minority, however small they are, they must be part. And once you are moving into the budget phase,
the media budget
you are
review.
going to, yes, you are going to need them at all times. So I think the leadership will have to talk and see the common ground in this matter. But I can see that it's not an easy conversation. It's a difficult one because there are, gains and then losses that to be expected from this type of process. But come back to budget. Yes, looking at the economic conditions that we find ourselves, I don't think it's necessary for government to overburden us with taxes because we are already burdened. If you look at the financial conditions we find ourselves, it's difficult for people to make ends meet. So you will not want to overburden them with a new set of taxes and all that. These things, as soon as you do, and we are getting closer to election, you know the implications. Apart from that, I'm not sure that it will bode well for a government that is trying to gain footing economic.
Hello, Doc. Well, we'll
look at the picketing going on. Look at, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. We lost you for just 2 seconds.
Yes. I was saying that if the government, there's no point the government should go ahead and then introduce some taxes now because the economic challenges that we are facing now are very serious ones. And, people are struggling to make ends meet. So a government that is trying to carry everybody along, a government that is trying to fix the economy and make life better, you don't compound the situation by introducing additional taxes that will create all manner of problem for society. And it doesn't bode well for a government that tries to break the eight, because all of these have implications on elections.
Right. So let's quickly get into the papers now. We'll start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. UGK and USD run unapproved courses. Authorities move to rectify the anomaly. I'll be getting into that story. There's also support our quest to transform economy. President Akufo-Addo to Portugal. Then there's Access Bank PLC, Standard Chartered Bank sign acquisition deal. Of course, the takeover, so to speak, of assets. Parks and Gardens cries for swift help. 90% workforce near retirement. That's a worry. And then government approves new salary structure for JUSAC. Speaking of new salary structures. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Now, the 2021 Auditor General's report has revealed that the University of Ghana, Legon, is running 371 unaccredited programs, including 80 undergraduate programs or courses. The unaccredited programs also include 213 postgraduate and 67 Doctor of Philosophy courses. Similarly, officials of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology also appeared before the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament and admitted that the KNUST was running a number of unaccredited programs. But the Registrar of the University of Ghana, Mrs. Emilia Ejay-Mensah, told the committee in Accra yesterday that 60 of the undergraduate programs of the institution had been fully accredited, while the university had put in place systems to ensure that all outstanding unaccredited courses went through the accreditation process successfully. In an answer to a question as to whether the statements were examined and issued with certificates on such unaccredited programs, she said, quote, once the programs are rolled out, certificates are issued. She, however, stressed that measures had been adopted to ensure that all unaccredited programs went through the accreditation process successfully. We know about the bottlenecks in this situation because coming up with a program and the accreditation process, sometimes it takes quite a long time and there are certain bottlenecks and universities go ahead and roll them out. But what do we do in such a situation? How do we bring this to the barest minimum? You lecture at the University of Ghana. What do you think?
Yeah, thank God Eugene has taken initial steps. I think 2 years ago, if my memory serves me right, and then they have detailed the process by which each of the units department is supposed to go through in order to get accreditation and is rigidly enforced. The Pro-Vice Chancellor Academic Affairs has been very supportive in this direction, and all the heads have been made to walk their courses through appropriate processes to get the necessary accreditation. And they remind you from time to time, each of the units, from your dean, from the provost, from everybody. It's so I can speak for Legon. Legon is on top of it. So I know in no time these bottlenecks will be addressed.
Well, let's get into that story on page 20. Maybe I'll start from page 13 with those two and then go to page 20. Let's get to page 13. It's the very next one. So, Parks and Gardens cries for swift help. 90% workforce near retirement. And the Department of Parks and Gardens, the state agency responsible for the development of the country's horticultural potential, is facing a human resource crisis as over 90% of its staff are due for retirement within the next 5 years. The retirement of the 369 staff has called for the urgent need for the department to fill the many vacancies across the country. The department, established in 1961, had more than 2,000 workers made up of technical officers, gardeners, laborers, but it has lost all of them to retirement over the years without any form of replacement. Of course, there's this portion as well that says, we have also been provided with about 10 workers, but we need a staff strength of about 2,000 to make the department vibrant once again. So 10 vis-a-vis the requirement of 2,000. And you go to Parks and Gardens, the DVLA area in cantonments. It's a beautiful place, and people come there every first and third Saturday to sell their wares and all of that. But I'm wondering, even in terms of this whole drive to, what do they even call it? The planting we do every year, Green Ghana. This would have been a way of integrating them into the fray. But as always, we'll complain. We're faced with climate change. We're being stared down by global warming, and we're not even paying attention to some of these things. There's also government approves new salary structure for JUSAG, and the government has approved a new salary structure for the staff of the Judicial Service. In a press statement issued last Monday, the president of the Judicial Service Staff Association of Ghana, Samuel Afote, said the implementation of the salary structure was expected to take effect this month. The association commended the Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Saki Tokonu, for her ingenuity and exceptional leadership with various stakeholders to arrive at that decision. We do know that they were, threatening some sort of industrial action on the back of some of these matters. So those two stories. Doc, let me just add this third one and have you react. So President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has called on the developed world, especially Portugal, to assist Ghana to turn back its old economy, which is dependent on the production, export of raw materials and aid. He said Ghana wanted to build a value-added and industrialized economy with modernized agriculture, which was neither a victim nor a pawn of the world economic order. And he said the latest engagement would go a long way to strengthen the ties of friendship and the bonds of cooperation between Ghana and Portugal. Mr. President, though, you want to build a value-added and industrialized economy. Wishes aren't horses. You must put in place the right policies, the right fundamentals, like when I had the likes of Dr. Humphrey Ayimdake in the studio yesterday of the AGI, when Guta came, when people in industry came. It's not the rhetoric after what, 6.5 years. Where is 1D, 1F, 1V, 1D, one village, one dam, among others? These are the things that could have spurred on the development we want to see. Alas, it is what it is. Quick thoughts on these three, and then we say goodbye to the Daily Graphic.
Yeah, I think I will begin with the Parks and Gardens. This is a very important unit of the public in terms of the service that they deliver. They have a lot of responsibilities, and if they tackle them well, the benefit is all there for us to see. Over the years, they've done their bit. But I'm surprised to hear the story that it seems to me that there is no succession plan. Because how do you have a unit where you know people will go on retirement, where you know people will even resign, and then if some people are even fired, you don't have a plan of what sustaining people or maintaining the system. It's surprising, and it speaks volume of what we are seeing in recent times in terms of the work of Parks and Gardens. Take, for instance, the beautification of the city, the middle track of our routes where the plant has ended them. These things are not kept in proper shape. Sometimes you see and you ask yourself whether we're in a forest and all that. So this one shed light on what we are seeing, because once you have a unit like this and we have inadequate staff, obviously the work will be jeopardized, and that's what we are seeing. Going forward, I believe that whichever organization which is responsible to oversee this, the work of this unit, must make sure they get their acts together and then, get going. But one thing that is also clear is that sometimes they also need the necessary funds to be able to turn things around. If you believe in beautification of the city and the rest of them, I think we cannot hold money to our chest, but give it to them so that they can develop and also support them with human resource. That's the way to go. I also look at the salary structure of a judicial service staff. It's a good thing because the Constitution makes it abundantly clear that people must be paid for the services that they render. So if you realize that a time had come for them, for their services, their remuneration to be improved, why not? Because that serves as a catalyst that speed up the reaction of people trying to give their all to the society. Anything that falls short of it creates all manner of disincentive for those who are in the industry. But having talk about incentive, then we also must tie it to what? The output. That yes, now that they've received something that they have worked for and it has been approved for them, we also want them to step up their game. The story of files getting missing and all that, the problems associated with judicial service, we want them to bring it to the barest minimum so that our judiciary will stand the test of time. I want to also move on to the present call for the need to improve agriculture so as to move it into another level where there's a value addition. We have heard this time and again, and you did not mince words when you talk about the rhetorics we have received over the years for the past 6 years when we're talking about this government. It's becoming one too many, and every time that they mention let's just move on to, let's move the country onto value addition level and all that. Sometimes I ask myself, are we serious as a state? And part of the problem is that we as a society has been so gullible, and we have not taken politicians on for the things that they promise us. And when we are getting to election, they come around and then dole out resources to us, and we are good to go. These are some of the things that affect our very survival. That if a government fails to do that, we show the government the exit. We have been too charitable to governments, and that's why they've got the penchant of doing what they are doing. The economy, nothing can save the Ghanaian economy if we don't industrialize, if we don't add value. And when are we going to do that? Issue of 1D, 1F you are talking about, and the rest of them. Some are nothing but white elephant. And we have sunk in a lot. Last, I was talking to a professor of economics at Legon, and he was, educating me on some of the things that really had affected our economy. And I asked myself, I said, wow, how can we fix that? Look at even buildings that we are put up and they are in the bush. Have you thought about the fact that we took resources to erect them? And have you put effective use on them? Have you ensured prudence and all that? And these are the little things that take us to the IMF, where
right. Hello, Doc. Doc's feed seems to have been frozen. Okay, Doc, I can hear you now. Could you quickly wrap on that point so we get into other papers?
So I'm saying that going forward, we need to put our acts together and make sure that what we tell the people we deliver at the end of the day. And when we fail, people must muster the courage and throw government out through elections.
Right. I said we would move on, but just quickly on the international front, former Ghana Twitter employees having anxiety attacks, and some of Twitter's former employees in Africa have told the BBC that they are tired of the drawn-out negotiations over their severance pay. On Monday, the BBC reported that the social media company had been silent since May on all negotiations with the ex-employees, lawyers, following the massive layoffs in November last year, including Ghana. I hear even the Ghana caucus has been blocked by Elon Musk. And that their severance pay has not been given to them. They are being treated very differently from those in other parts of the world, the United States, among others. Again, it talks about how porous our systems are, so that we can allow these foreign entities to do whatever they like over here. Why should other people in different jurisdictions be treated differently from those in Ghana, for example? Russia grain deal exits stab in the back, that's according to Kenya. We know that the Russians are saying the deal in the Black Sea may have to come to an abrupt end. And Russia's withdrawal from the deal, allowing Ukraine to safely export grain through the Black Sea, is a stab in the back for those in drought-hit countries. Kenya, the Kenyan government has said. But let's move on quickly from there to the Daily Guide newspaper. ADB MD endorses a Kumfi factory model. Akosia Menu files for Adenta seat. And yesterday she was telling my colleague Evans Mensah that she is funding her campaign through funds being generated by, I think, family, friends, so colleagues from school and all of that. I found it rather interesting. Baumia campaign team unveiled Samia Uku leads. Refund MP aspirants money. MPP NEC says so. And Jachikwesin trial resumes. Let's go to page 3 and just do those stories there very quickly. So the National Executive Committee of the ruling New Patriotic Party has urged all regional executive committees of the party to immediately cease issuing any orders on the conduct of parliamentary primaries in orphan constituencies. It also wants all money taken from prospective parliamentary candidates pursuant to these, quote, unauthorized and unapproved directives be refunded to them in line with the letter and spirit of this communication. The NEC, in a statement issued and signed by the party's General Secretary, Justin Kodia Frimpong, said its attention had been drawn to, quote, various directives issued by some regional executive committees to aspiring candidates on the conduct of the party's upcoming parliamentary primaries in, quote, orphan constituencies. The directives include, but are not limited to, the fixing of tentative dates for the conduct of the parliamentary primaries. It goes on and on. Let me just get to this. So typhoon lashes China as the extreme weather grips Asia. A lot there to talk about. And in the entertainment spread, Akon admits pretending to be African prince. And he has confessed to lying about his background in the past, pretending to be an African prince. Well, it's good that he's now come out to say what is. And then Michi, I'm talking about Shatta Michi, empowers youth with hustle. Anyway, those are the stories there. Any reactions to this bit about a refund for MP aspirants' money? Doc?
I think I'll look at that. If you look at what they are talking about, then the problem stems from the fact that institutions either are broken down within the party or are very weak. And when I say institutions, I'm talking about the rules, the procedures, the processes, the norms, and what have you. Any party worth a salt is supposed to have institutions that stand the test of time. And at each point in time, communication comes through, but it comes from a directed source where it is known, verified, and you check the recipient whether they received the right information. So I'm surprised to hear that people give conflicting information to the extent that now the party is saying that whatever monies that you have received from such people, you should refund them. Going forward, I think that this doesn't augur well for a party such as MPP, which prides itself with rule of law. They believe that all these things can be fixed. if the team put its acts together and ensure that communication comes from a particular source and then filters through the process and get to everybody at the right time.
Right.
That's the way to go.
Let's wrap up with these stories. I'll take something from the Finder, the Ghanaian publisher, and the New Publisher. The Finder newspaper regurgitates some of the stories we've already looked at. Ghana, Portugal signed defense and economic pacts. There's also Access Bank acquires Standard Chartered in 5 countries. But there's Agenda 111 bricks suppliers cry foul over unilateral substitution of compressed earth bricks with cement blocks. That's the major story there, and I'm going to take a look at it. So compressed earth bricks, that is CEB, which can reduce cost by between 20 and 40% in the construction of Agenda 111 health facilities, has been ditched, squeezing the manufacturers engaged to supply the bricks into serious financial crisis. The manufacturers imported at least 20 specialized machines and accessories with an average price of each machine pegged at over $45,000, depending on its capacity. Now, by unilaterally substituting compressed earth bricks with sandcrete blocks, the manufacturers who contracted bank loans to invest say they cannot serve the loans and will be forced to sell their personal assets to pay them off. Now, apart from the cost savings, the use of the bricks will help reduce Ghana's carbon footprint to attain sustainable development goals on climate change and achieve carbon neutrality. But my problem here, Doc, the point that it appears it's almost as though we didn't know where we wanted to go. So you tell people something, look at the buffer stock and how they have struggled with dealing with suppliers. Now here we are, those who are supposed to supply bricks for Agenda 111 are also saying this is what is happening to us. You make them contract loans, they purchase this equipment, and now you change from the CEB to sandcrete blocks. What do you expect them to do? Look at the cost of securing loans at this point in time. What are your expectations of them? Then there is the Ghanaian publisher. Obi Amwa condemns acrimony among aspirants, of course, the party's aspirants. But this one is the story I'm going to do. Minister slams Kennedy Japan, tells him to stop acting greedy, or greedily if you like. So that story, let me just get to it. The Member of Parliament for Takrady, Kwabena Ochre Darko Mensah, has taken a swipe at the outspoken businessman and MP for Asin Central, Kennedy Japan. According to Mr. Darko Mensah, who is also the Western Regional Minister, Mr. Japan is acting greedily and unfairly attacking the government and a fellow contender in the race, Vice President Dr. Bawumia. Speaking in an interview on Takrady-based Radio 360 on Monday, the minister shielded Bawumia from a scathing attack by Mr. Japan, who recently blamed Bawumia for Ghana's economic woes. And there's a lot he's been saying on that trajectory. And finally, Akoto woos delegates with plantain trees. That's the New Publisher newspaper. How is he doing that? That story is on page 3, and I'm talking about Dr. Akoto Friye. So former Minister of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Akoto, who prides himself as having transformed Ghana's agricultural sector, is leaving nothing to chance and uses that as a major trump card. Now, guess what he's been showing up with recently? During the campaigns, the plantain tree was displayed as a symbol of the Planting for Food and Jobs program implemented by Dr. Akoto as Minister of Agriculture from 2017 to January 2023. So he has been displaying plantain trees and saying, look, this is what you can expect should I become president someday. Quick thoughts?
Yeah, I'll talk about the minister slamming Kennedy Japan. I'm surprised the minister is taking such a position. For me, it's nothing but hypocritical, because we have also received reports in the media while the vice president has also been attacking Mr. Japan. What do you expect? You think Mr. Japan will not respond? I'm not a spokesman for Mr. Japan, but I'm looking at the issue fairly, because if there are statements that the vice president made directed towards Mr. Japan, obviously Mr. Japan will respond. But what we are saying is that if the party doesn't take care, these things will ruin them the more, because if those who are contesting for position, they decide not to go on the route of having messages, real messages that resonate with the people, but trying to engage in character assassination, they will end up destroying themselves and you know one of them will emerge victorious, by which time the person has been destroyed already. So I'm wondering if such a situation arises, how are they going to repair the damaged image of that person if they really want to sell the person to Ghanaians for elections? It's going to be a difficult one, and I expect the Council of Elders to put their foot down without fear or favor. It seems to me the Council of Elders has been too slow, too sluggish in dealing with this situation because it's getting out of hand. There are real issues that should confront them, and that should be the thing that should engage the attention of those who really want power. But character assassination, outbursts, unnecessary outbursts and insult and all that doesn't gel well for a party that really wants to maintain power and continue the forward march of the democratic agenda. I believe the time is now for well-meaning members of the party to call all aspirants and then let them walk them through certain code of conduct so as to save themselves. Otherwise, then there are more difficulties ahead of them. I am not a prophet of doom, but from where I sit, I can see that.
Right. Well, Doc, thank you so much for joining us. As always, refreshing having you, and we wish you the best of the day, sir.
Thank you. I wish you a good day, sir.
All right. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante is a political scientist, also director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. As we cap off the conversation today, I have to remind you that this segment always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Now, they're offering free prostate screening and free female fertility screening. Make tracks to any of their branches dotted across the country. Locate them here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. There's Kumasi Krono Maboyhian behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takrade Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa and Asiama Nzema. Their call lines are 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But we still have a lot more coming your way this morning in sports. Up next.
You're still watching the AM show and it's time for sports. My name is Haruna Mubarak. We start with women's football because Ghana is through to the next round of the Paris 2024 Olympics qualifiers after their 4-0 win over Guinea at Accra Sports Stadium yesterday. The Black Queens advanced on a 7-0 aggregate, having secured 3-0 victory in the first leg in Conakry. My colleague Lawrence Beidu was there yesterday at Accra Sports Stadium and has this report.
Evelyn Bedu opened the scoring in the 36th minute of the game, lofting the ball over the on-rushing Guinea goalkeeper to put Ghana ahead. After a few chances missed in the first half, there was no stopping Priscilla Edubia this time, as she scored 7 minutes into the second period of the game. Bedu grabbed her second goal of the evening with a calm effort from a rebound minutes later, before substitute Fidaus Yakubu put the game to bed. The Hazakes ladies midfielder tapped into an empty net after a brilliant work by Bedu down the right flank. Speaking at the end of the game, the head coach of the side, Nara Hapto, said she was satisfied with the performance of her team, but believes they could have scored more at the Accra Sports Stadium.
All in all, I think it was a good game. We played tonight. We leveled up in terms to the first game we had away in Guinea. I think we liked that the pitch is rolling much better here, so our possession game was good. Our rest defense was perfectly set, so we didn't allow them to enter in counter-attacks. I think we had a big dominance on the pitch. Of course, the only thing I can maybe judge is that we should have scored a bit more goals out of all these chances. But all in all, I'm very satisfied, happy that we passed this first qualification round.
Prior to the game, Kamara Sekuba, who is the head coach of Guinea, had promised that his side were going to play for pride and honor. However, the scoreline from the Accra Sports Stadium was a sign of disappointment rather than hope. In his post-match, he mentions that the Ghanaian team were far too good for his side to cope.
Ghana is a strong country. Ghana is very experienced, and we were waiting to have a very strong side. We our side, we had a very young team, and we had about a week or 2 to get ready for this tournament. And this is the result that we are seeing today. We are trying our best to make sure we have a strong team for the future, so that in the future we can also go ahead in this type of competitions.
Progressing to the next round of qualifiers means Benin is the next task for Ghana. But before Benin, the Black Queens will face Rwanda as part of their qualifications for the next edition of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. Reporting for Joy Sports, Lawrence Beidu from the Accra Sports Stadium.
To the men's senior national team, the Black Stars, they will take on Mexico in an international friendly during the October break. Now, a statement from the GFA stated it has signed a contract with the Mexican Football Federation for the international friendly. The game will be played on Saturday, October 14, 2023, at a venue yet to be announced. The friendly is to help the Black Stars prepare for the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers set to start in November this year. And of course, the Africa Cup of Nations as well, which will come off in January next year, a tournament Ghana is yet to qualify for. Now, former Black Stars player Ibrahim Sande says the launch of the national football philosophy is a bit too late and should have been done a couple of years ago. The GFA announced the initiative last week to ensure a unique style of play and coaching for the various national teams. Sunday believes the policy will take time before results begin to reflect.
Yes, it's been too late, yes. That one is true. It's been too late because I think we have not been planning very well. The whole problem is lack of good planning. That's why. So that's why we are now lacking behind. And I believe if we plan well, we'll go back to our olden days where we win our matches and winning cups and so on and so forth. It's something that we'll have to go through and then try to practice it and see the result. If really we do it well, I think we'll get a good result.
Now, 2 days from now, the semi-finals of the MTN Ashanti Fest 2023 will be held in Kumasi. Since the competition started weeks ago, fans have been treated to good football and impressive goals. One of the players drawing crowd is Emmanuel Owusu-Boakye, who is a joint top scorer with 6 goals so far. Let's see how the man is representing Kwadaso got his 6 goals. Well, now Boache and his squad as teammates will face Ejisu, while Dichemso plays Santasi. All games will be at 2 p.m. on Friday at the Otunfo Park in Dichemso. Now, let's go to England. And England striker Marcus Rashford, he has signed a new deal to stay at Manchester United until 2028. The 25-year-old had been in talks with United for a considerable period, with his contract due to expire in 2024. The striker enjoyed a resurgence under new manager Erik ten Hag last season, scoring 30 goals in 56 games. Since his debut in 2016 against Midtjylland, Rashford has hit 123 goals in 359 appearances. Still in England, but to London, because Chelsea boss Mauricio Pochettino says the club is working hard on getting new players ahead of the new football season. The Blues have been linked with several players after a host of departures in the current transfer window. That's your sports. For more, you can head on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Harun Mubarak, and the AM show continues.
This is the AM show. Welcome back. We get into our big stories and we kickstart the conversation from the standpoint of that latest report, which shows that in the third quarter of last year, about 1.5 million Ghanaians aged between 15 and 24 years. That, by the way, that age group constitutes about 24.2% of them were neither in some form of education, employment, or training. Well, there are myriad consequences of that, and we're going to be exploring them with our guest this morning, Dr. Pearl Che. Now, she's a lecturer at the Regional Institute for Population Studies, that is RIPS, of the University of Ghana. Dr. Che, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the AM show. You would have to unmute, Dr. Che.
Sorry, I forgot I was muted. Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I can hear you very well.
Great.
Thank you so much for joining the conversation.
Good morning.
Right.
Thank you for having me.
What do you make of the latest reports? It makes for cold reading in terms of the numbers. In summary, what do you make of this latest revelation?
Yeah, so first of all, I think the press release was done in to raise awareness on World Youth Skills Day, which is really supposed to highlight the importance of equipping our youth with, employable skills to be able to transition to the labor force and really live, productive lives and also contribute to the development of the nation. So this report, the statistics in the report were released earlier in the year, I think in May. And yes, the number of the proportion, which is about a quarter, is really about the global percent, which is 23%. And globally, it's a concern. So definitely, if we are recording the same proportion as the global number, which is a concern, then it's something that we need to be concerned about.
And in terms of Ghana's statistics, when you look at our population as per the latest census, and you look at the figures we are putting out as far as youth unemployment is concerned, and not just youth unemployment, youth not engaged in education, not engaged in employment, not engaged in training, what picture does that paint?
So let me first talk about the youth not engaged in employment, in education, employment, or training. I mean, it's actually one of the SDG indicators, right. SDG 8.6, really because of the importance, because what has been seen in other studies is that when you have youth that are not engaged in any of these three, then their risk of really being socially excluded is high because they are not working, they're not in school, they likely don't have the skills to help them to get those jobs that would lead them, to have their productive lives. So really the goal for every nation to be to try to make sure that the youth are really engaged as productively as possible. And this is, for the report, it's talking about the youth 15 to 24. In terms of the long-term implications, so, demographers talk a lot about what we call the demographic dividends. And it's something that if you look at the developments of the East Asian countries, when you equip your youth with skills, when they are highly skilled and they can get, skilled jobs that they can use to take care of themselves and also contribute to the development of the nation, then you put yourself, on a good track for sustainable development. But when the youth do not have those skills, then you really are at risk of not being able to reap that demographic dividend, which is supposed to help you to develop. So really, equipping the youth with skills is very important. And the focus is on skills. So the day was actually Youth Skills Day and not just education, because we know that you may not get everything that you need from the formal educational system. Now, a lot of the things that the ILO and UNESCO talk about in terms of youth skills, we go beyond reading and writing. They talk about employable skills, so things like working with teammates, communicating, problem solving, critical thinking, and more importantly, getting those skills that you need from on-the-job training and work experience. Sometimes the youth do not have that. So it's really important that even as people are going through the formal education system, we find ways to help them to develop these employable skills so that they don't struggle to find jobs when they are out of the formal educational system. And really to encourage people to use alternative sources of learning to complement what they are getting in school, to make them employable. And importantly, I forgot also digital skills. I think UNESCO has said that more than 90% of jobs would be requiring some digital skills. We also have to make sure that our youth have the digital skills. They're able to have access to those devices that they will be able to use to access the internet or, to get information, to communicate with others, to search for jobs. And I know recently there was a census report on digital exclusion, and then we found that, really about maybe 1 million or 2 million of the youth were not, had not used an ICT device in the 3 months preceding census night. And that's really not a good thing, because the internet has been shown to be one of the ways that youth can access training opportunities, job opportunities, and also able to develop their skills.
Now, again, it paints quite a picture for Ghana, because it reveals then that 1 in every 4 young persons is an NEET, not engaged in education, employment, or training. That is 24.2%. This is a fourth of the youth bulge or the youth population. That also makes for stark reading, especially as you contemplate that in the Greater Accra region, you're looking at the number being 312,394. Followed by the Ashanti region with 300,161, the Eastern region with over 131,000, and the Central region with 129,000 plus. Now, you spoke about the fact that this is a core component of the SDGs, 8.6. But what does this say about how far Ghana has come or not come in dealing with the situation? COVID-19 came. The Russo-Ukrainian war has also been on our hands. But have we done enough then in this regard?
So honestly, it will be difficult for me to say, because the statistics have not been collected over time to be able to make that assessment. But what we know is that globally, the proportion has increased post-COVID. So the youth unemployment and the youth not in education, employment, or training has increased post-COVID, and it's yet to fall back to pre-COVID level. So we can assume the same pattern is holding clear, but it would not be possible for me to say. Now that we are having these quarterly statistics from the Statistical Service, then we can monitor the trend over time and see how we are doing.
In other words, we would need sustained research. So these studies by the GSS would have to come through for about how long before we can pinpoint what exactly is happening?
So, globally, they look at it on an annual basis. So I think even, from year to year, we can see whether we are trending. So if we have this is the third quarter. Sometimes there may be some seasonal things influencing what is happening, but we can then see what happens in the third quarter of next year. Then we see whether we are trending upward or downward.
Now, the capital, Accra, and of course Tema, can both be found in the Greater Accra region. But any surprises in terms of the regional dynamics when it comes to the NEETs? Of course, the Greater Accra region first, the Ashanti second. You would also consider population. The eastern and central regions. Are you surprised at all? Because if you look at the breakdown, you would find out that in 13 out of the 16 regions, more than 20% of the young people aged between 15 and 24 were not in education, employment, or training. And this also included the eastern region with a 30% portion, which has the highest population of youth, with a figure of about twice that of the Bono region at 14.5%, which has the lowest proportion. So when you look at the numbers, really, you would see that while the Greater Accra region has the bigger chunk in terms of the over 312,000, followed by the Ashanti region, when you look at the eastern region, if you look at its youth population, it has the highest proportion of youth NEETs. What do you make of that information? And what should be the guiding policy on this moving forward, do you think?
So I think there are two things. So you mentioned the population issue. So definitely when you have a larger population, we would expect that you have a larger proportion of youth not in education, employment, or training, just because there are more youth in the region. And I think we have seen from the census that, the Greater Accra region, the Ashanti, they do have their youth bulge is a bit more pronounced than the other regions. So it's not surprising to see that they have those numbers. As you mentioned, really the number of regions that have the numbers, above, certain threshold, I think is a cause for concern. One of the reasons we highlight the absolute numbers in addition to the proportions now is because the SDG doesn't want to leave anybody behind. So sometimes the proportions may mask the fact that there are really a large number in a certain place. Now, in terms of what needs to be done, so I think a lot has been proposed internationally on how to help to make, to get more youth engaged. And that is really focusing on giving them the employable skills, because they really need those skills to transition to the workforce. So some people so part of the statistic, it did indicate the proportions that had never been to school. But you see that in addition to those that had never been to school, there's still a gap. So assuming that if the rest of them have all had some education, but they are still currently not in employment or not in training. So this is where the lack of employable skills comes in, because employers want people with experience and some on-the-job skills that you would not get when you are in school. So the key thing really proposed is to try to make sure that, whilst in school, children, students, young people are able to access perhaps career counseling opportunities. So they are able to know that, okay, sometimes I need this skill or that skill, because they may not know if I want to go into this career, I need this particular set of skills. In addition, when you think about things that maybe the educational sector can do, would be to maybe integrate a bit more of the skills that they need in their labor force in school. So for instance, I teach a theory class, but when I give them assignments, I try to make them do presentations to raise funds for policymakers, or to write a development plan, or to do the teamwork. So some of those skills, we can build it into the formal educational system, and then also to do the in-school training, which they talked about. So making sure that while people are in school, they have access to internships and opportunities that they can get to be in the labor force and sees what needs to be done. Then collaboration between the education sector and industry. So there's a bit, more understanding of exactly what do you need, what skills do you need? Are the skills that you need, is it reflected in the curriculum? If it's not, then how can we work together to make sure that those skills are available so that the graduates come out and then have those skills? So I think really the key is to make sure that there's employable skills being developed by the time that youth come out of school, so that they can make the transition to the labor force. And then for those that have not been to school, there should be a way to also reach out to them to make sure that they also develop the employable skills. Because really one of the things we know is that literacy and numeracy is not enough to succeed in this world anymore. A lot of complex skills are needed in the 21st century labor market, and we really have to try to make sure that all youth have the opportunity to gain those skills.
And that is crucial because, again, if you go back to the 2021 population and housing census, you would actually know that it indicates 1 in every 10, that is 11.1 persons, 11.1% of persons aged between 15 and 24, that constitutes 1.4 million young persons, have never attended school. Now, if you look at the dynamic male-female, you would notice that 12% are female, and they had never attended school compared to 10.2% in the male category. And particularly worrying when it comes to that aspect is the northern belt of the country, because you look at the Savannah region and it stands at a staggering 43.4%, almost 45%. The northeast, 36.8%, northern, 33.3%, upper west, 20.9%, and then OT, 20.7%. Now, all of these, if you add OT, because OT is right at the junction there with the northern belt. If you add it, it means that the entirety of the northern belt, when you look at the educational quota or quotient, they are in way behind the rest of the country. And I don't know what you think about that, because if you look at the historical antecedents, that even prompted the formation of the Northern People's Party, politically speaking, though it went against the Constitution and we had to do away with that. But the marginalization of the northern belt of the country when it comes to education, what more can we or should we be seen doing to cut down on these numbers? I mean, 45%, close to 45%, is staggering.
Exactly. And, if we see education as a pathway to changing your life, then if you don't even have the chance to go through the formal education system at all, then you really are at a disadvantage. So the key thing, for those that are already out of their school-going age, there really has to be ways to reach them, to help them to develop some skills that they can use. But in terms of maybe those that are currently of school-going age, there's a lot has been done on why children don't go to school. And even in places where on paper, the schooling is free. It doesn't cost you money to go. So why is it that there are so many children out of school? And I'll touch on a few of those reasons. So the first is, one of the things that has been proposed is really to take a multi-sectoral approach to resolving this problem, because you would really need to tackle things like poverty and hunger before you expect every child to go to school. Because if the family has to send their child to school, has to feed them, has to buy textbooks, has to pay anything, as opposed to maybe letting the child do something that will bring in some economic activity. So when you are poor, you have to think about all these concerns like food, shelter, your health before the education comes in. So really for poor people, and there's a lot done on the differences between the educational enrollments of those that are poor and those that are not poor, because they just have too many competing interests. So that could be one of the reasons. And then we talk about things such as, the direct and then the indirect costs. So this is the opportunity cost of my time. The child is in school, but they could be out there earning some money to help take care of themselves. So at that point, it's not even the parents that is forcing the child not to go to school. The child could independently make the decision to not go to school because there are more lucrative things happening at the same time rather than being in school. And then you worry about things like, yes, when the school is a bit far away, then parents are reluctant to send especially younger children to school. And the census did release, a proximity to essential services last year. And it's quite interesting to see, again, in the northern parts of the country, a higher proportion of the structures are far away from, outside of the recommended 1 kilometer, 3 kilometer, 5 kilometer for the pre-primary, primary, JHS respectively. So the distance is also a challenge. Or sometimes you may go up to primary school and end because there's no JHS within walking distance. So a lot really goes into why children don't go to school. And really, we always talk about the government, but success in school, the parents has a role to play, the child has a role to play, the school has a role to play, so it should be engaging, children should find it interesting, they should want to learn, they should the benefits of the education, They should be healthy, they should be happy, they should be properly fed, so that when they go to school, they can concentrate. You know, their parents should be supportive at home, help them with their homework if there's additional support to be made. So, you know, even things like, is there a table in the house? Is there electricity? All these things contribute, you know, to making sure that children can go through school successfully. So we really have to tackle, you know, this proportion of children out of school. And really, when you look at the current school going age, I think those statistics were also released earlier. It's also high in that part of the country. So it's not really the youth, but if you look at those who are 6 to 17 as well. So really, really a cause for concern.
It really is a cause for concern. I've taken stock of the points you've made. It doesn't just behove government to do what it must, but of course there are the challenges to do with the institutions themselves and also parents. Each one of these has a role in that train. But even more so government, because how many private institutions do we have in this country? And how about the public ones which serve the masses? And that is where I have a concern. I don't know how many times you've paid a visit to the northern belt of the country, but we have one of our latest documentaries, The Schools of Shame. I don't know whether you saw that. If you look at the learning conditions across the country, but you look especially at the northern belt of the country, we have schools under trees in many regions, but you look at the northern belt, again, it appears for everything, they are the worst hit. These cannot be, you know, we cannot foster this and think that even if children were encouraged to go to school, they wouldn't. If you've seen the children studying on the bare floor with their knees and their elbows looking all black because they always have to be crawling, if you see those who are on the bare floor, a cemented floor with, you know, many holes, jagged ends, with no desks, in some places with no boards, no white, don't think of a whiteboard, no blackboard. Okay? So there's this institution we went to where the teacher had to do what we call air writing, write in the air for the children. I mean, how can you even encourage a child to go to such a place to study? Those are the minimum questions we should be asking.
Of course, and again, a lot of research has been done on what we call the learning environment. So it's not really only just about going to school. The learning environment in the classroom must be conducive. So the children must have a good place to sit. You know, even things like, even, you know, they talked about even the color of the classroom. You know, some colors promote, you know, like maybe the pinks and the yellows, the way the tables and the chairs are arranged, you know, the lighting, the sound. So there's really a lot on making sure that the learning environment is conducive. I mean, same at home as well. The home environment, you know, there should be some place for the children to be able to study comfortably. Unfortunately, most of this research is really not from our setting, you know. So we know that yes, in other maybe developed parts of the world, these are the things they should promote learning. So you're right, it's not just enough to be physically present, but there are all these other things that should make the learning conducive. And really, this is not just a problem that Ghana is facing. There's currently what, you know, it's called the global learning crisis. So the World Bank, you know, has really talked about the fact that about half of the children in low and middle income countries, you know, cannot read and write a short sentence by the end of primary school.
True.
So it's really a global problem. So these are children that have been to school, but they are not able to finish with the minimum learning proficiency that you would expect at that age. And part of it is, yes, due to the lack of infrastructure, the fact that, you know, there's inadequate learning materials. And one of the things they've also talked about is even the way assessments are done. So is the educational system able to identify those that are struggling to properly help them to do what needs to be done? So those are all the things that they talk about. And really now there's a lot of, you know, concern about this global learning crisis, because it is really going to endanger the global progress towards the SDGs. Because, you know, quality education really runs through a number of the SDGs as well. So it's really a global problem, and it's not something that is just peculiar to us.
So let's look at the
environment is not as conducive for learning as it should be. And again, something if it's half of low and middle income countries, and and they say 80% in the poor countries, so it's really a problem.
You mentioned the SDG goals, and rightly so. And we have, for most of them, targets around 2030. We're already in 2023. As we get ready to cap off the conversation, I want us to look at these SDG goals. There's SDG Goal 1 talking about no poverty, Goal 2 talking about zero hunger, and of course, there is Goal 8, which you highlighted. So I just want you to look at the spectrum. No poverty. We're in the midst of a lot of poverty in this country, per these statistics, because, of course, if the young people, about a fourth of them, are not even in employment, they are not in any sort of training, what do you expect them to do? How do they eke out a living? Then zero hunger. If you have no money, if you're impoverished, then your likelihood of getting hungry or going without food is very high. Then we have the third point, which you made mention of, decent work. And this is what SDG 8 spells out. It talks about the key role of decent work for all in achieving sustainable development being highlighted by Sustainable Development Goal 8, which aims to, quote, promote sustained, inclusive and sustainable economic growth full of productive employment and decent work for all. Now, decent work, employment creation, social protection rights at work, and social dialogue represent integral elements of the new 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I find it interesting when it mentions their rights, economic rights. These are things that in our part of the world we don't follow up on. I know in other jurisdictions, people have sued government for, on the back of economic rights, not having work to do. Here, let me just state this bluntly. In political circles, lots of jobs are created for the boys and girls, and we know exactly what we're talking about. Yet the masses are not employed. Administration in, administration out will come and say, oh, we've created X number of jobs. After a short while, you ask yourself, where are the jobs? Those same people are back to square one. So what then should be the way forward for Ghana on this trajectory to enable us come somewhat close to the goal for year 2030?
If you look at so when we talk about the demographic dividends you need to harness for sustainable development, there are 4 pillars to harness what we call the first dividend. And one of them is education, which we've talked about in depth. So really making sure that your labor force has the skills. It's not even about them going to school, but we just talked about the fact that going to school does not necessarily mean that you have the skills. But really making sure that your labor force has the skills to be able to have high-skilled jobs. And the important thing about the job creation for the demographic dividends, they have to be high-skilled jobs. So the person is earning enough money to take care of themselves and to save for their future so that when they are old, they will not come back and rely on the government or their children to take care of them. But then the high-skilled jobs generate tax revenue for the country. So that's the first pillar. The second one is health. So we actually, you also need a healthy population to harness the dividend. And the health goes beyond just, physical health. You have to be physically, emotionally, mentally healthy, and even things like having the self-confidence and the self-esteem to be able to carry out these high-skilled jobs. Then the third one is the job creation. So the jobs that are created for these skilled youth have to be high-skilled jobs, as I mentioned. And then the fourth pillar is governance. So the governance has to be in place to make sure that all these 3 things are working and it's sustained. So when you look at how the demographic dividend is going to be achieved, these are really the 4 wheels we say that you will tend to get to prosperity. And then that's the first step. And then you have a second dividend, which they say is the key to sustainable development. So with the second dividend, your skilled labor force really has to be able to save and accumulate wealth, because one of the challenges that we overlook, when you have a high proportion of the youth that is not employed, or they go through, their labor force working years in maybe, low-skilled, low-paying jobs, is that when they get to retirement age, they are ill-prepared. They are not able to take care of themselves. So now they become a societal, a vulnerable group that society has to protect. So either like the government has to take care of them or their children have to take care of them. And in these times where the fertility rate is declining and, with this global economic crisis, you cannot rely on your children. So it's really important that we equip the youth to be able to have these high skill jobs so that they can save for the future. And then when they are old, they're able to take care of themselves. So that accumulation of skills and again, additional human capital investment so that they can be skilled and productive even well beyond their retirement age is the key to the second dividend that we need for sustainable development. So these are really all the things that we need to put in place. And let me just put in my personal page for what I always talk about, financial literacy and saving for the future. Because ultimately, if you are not on the pension scheme and you get there, you need to have something, because that wealth that you accumulate when you retire is what is going to help. So those resources that will be used to support the elderly people, they are self-sufficient, that it can be used for other sectors of the economy. So it's really important that we invest in the things that will help us to reap the first dividend and the second dividend for sustainable development.
And just right before you go, across the world now we're talking not just about security in terms of armaments, in terms of the military or militarization. We're talking about human security concerns, and that feeds into national security concerns. Now, if you have a teeming youth population that is largely unemployed, uneducated, untrained, they are going to saddle whatever economy they find themselves in. So rather than translating these into a skilled workforce, we would have a burden on our society that would have to clothe, feed, provide health for, when maybe their contribution, through no fault of theirs, is not adequate. We can talk about unemployment in terms of those who are purely unemployed, those who are underemployed, they are properly skilled, they don't have jobs matching their work. How much then, from where you sit, is of a national security threat is the cocktail that we have in Ghana, looking at the different percentages we've mentioned, looking at the Northern Belt and education, looking at the entirety of the country, and then the NEETs. How much of a national security concern is it? How much more attention should we be paying to that? That's the final bit I'll throw to you, Doc.
Okay, so we need to pay attention to it. So I'm happy you mentioned the youth bulge. It's actually a theory called the youth bulge theory, which really looks at, well, if you have a youth bulge, these are the things that you need to do, because if you don't make sure that the youth, are productively engaged, then there is the risk of, yes, these concerns about maybe, conflict or, internal crisis. Really, what the research has shown is that it's not that the youth bulge in itself, like having a high youth population in and of itself, leads to these issues. But when you have other conditions such as the high unemployment, when socioeconomic conditions are tough, then it increases the risk that high youth population may lead to other issues. So really, definitely, the bottom line is that the youth needs to be productively engaged, for their own mental well-being, for their own health, and then really for the development of the country, both in the short and the long term.
Thank you so much, Doc, for joining the conversation. We're really grateful. Dr. Pearl Che is a lecturer at the Regional Institute for Population Studies, RIPS of the University of Ghana. Once more, we're grateful, Doc, and do have a good day.
Have a nice day.
All right, so we move on from here. We take a look at malfunctioning traffic lights here in Accra. We'll be telling you about motorists who are worried that these lights could lead to accidents on the road. We'll be checking out a few of them and then speak to the relevant authorities. But that will be much later. Before then, though, we'll, today being a Wednesday, courtesy of EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, we're coming your way with AM Business. Now, yesterday, we had that business roundtable, if you like, a pre-budget forum. And some players within the business community have been sharing their expectations for the 2023 mid-year budget review. They want government to find diverse ways of addressing Ghana's economic issues rather than focusing solely on the introduction of new taxes. So, what is the way forward? We hear from them now.
U.S. economy, according to the Ghana Statistical Service, advanced by 4.2% from a year earlier in the first quarter of 2023, compared with a downwardly revised 3.2% rise. Though we've seen some positive signs in the economy, the country has been grappling with a severe debt overhang, soaring inflation, and continuous currency depreciation, coupled with Western living conditions for Ghanaians, prompting the business community to raise some concerns. According to Professor Bokpim, there's the need for government to find a good balance between expenditure and revenue.
The approach we have adopted is suboptimal, and that is why we agree with the private sector that the approach government has adopted under the program would disproportionately affect the private sector and undermine private sector competitiveness, and that is a cause for concern for us. And also, whilst we have advocated for expenditure cuts, the kind of expenditure cut government has done under the program is actually not the kind of expenditure cut we had wished. Okay.
What kind of expenditure cuts would you have wanted to see?
We were expecting more of the government reducing the size, merging some ministries, some agencies, departments, and then costing that, and probably we may achieve the same goal, okay, by reducing those expenditure as compared to increasing taxes, introducing new taxes, and increasing rates of existing taxes. Look at it from the approach you are coming from. We are majoring on the minor. We are not just asking reducing the number of ministers. We are talking about ministries, we are talking about departments, we are talking about agencies, and also rationalizing state-owned enterprises. In other words, the cost of our governance is just too much for our national budget to sustain.
Ghana has a large and very active consumer industrial products and services sector that provides products and services to the Ghanaian economy and the West African sub-region. This sector is poised for significant growth over the next few years, but President for the Association of Ghana Industries, Dr. Enyim Dake, maintained that the sector is battling with taxes.
Our businesses have been stressed within the context of the macro. They led to a lot of contraction into our business operation. It led to low growth. It led to low unemployment. You can also trace that it led to the distortion of original business model of processing and manufacturing, where you realize that by virtue of these macro indicators, a number of businesses resorted to importation of finished product as against processing and producing, and its relevant impact in terms of job creation, taxation, and it's exposed the country to a lot of informality. And there are consequences of a high informal sector in an economy, at least developing economy. So these ramifications are all associated with the gains and the minuses of what we've gone through over the period. And therefore, yes, our businesses are stressed, but by virtue of the IMF transaction, restored confidence to which we are planning effectively. And we look forward to other indicators that are work in progress, because the IMF process is not a one-time transaction, it's a process. We need to go back into the inflationary rates. What do we need to do regarding the inflationary rate? You asked my colleague about the effect of the inflation on our businesses. And that, I mean, every player in the space knows that the higher the inflation, the challenges it is to businesses. Nonetheless, our concern is how is Bank of Ghana managing the inflationary issues. And we know they've deployed a number of tools to aid, curtail the inflationary figures. Nonetheless, the producer price index and the run-through effect of some tax adjustment has also led to the state of the inflation. We've also argued out on the inflation targeting model that the Bank of Ghana uses. Nonetheless, we still believe that there are structural rigidities that needs to be tackled. And those are the engagement we seek to see the finance minister table in the midterm budget, complementing it with that of the IMF policy and report to aid us navigate these difficult macroeconomic factors that we face.
This may be very common, but as a result of these new taxes, Chief Executive Officer for the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mark Bedu-Abuaji, says members of the chamber have no choice than to lay off some workers.
I think government should do everything possible to bring some relief to businesses. Some taxes that I want to see, some abolished and some review. One is the e-levy. I think that the rate is too high. The other one has to do with the COVID tax. I don't know why we still have COVID tax or COVID levy as part of our tax structure. After it has been declared by WHO that COVID is not a pandemic, we have to take this tax out to bring some relief to businesses. Secondly, if you look at our policy document nowadays, there is a general statement that you are going to create a conducive environment for businesses. We all know what the conducive environment is. Low taxes, low inflation, lower interest rates, lower utility tariffs. With all the things that are happening, I don't think that we are going to have that immediately. So that general statement, I personally do not want to see it. They should come out with specifics on how they are going to create this conducive environment for businesses.
Foreign direct investments in Ghana amounted to $1.88 billion in 2020, which represented roughly 2.7% of the country's GDP. Compared to 2019, the FDI inflow decreased by $2 million. Ghana's mining and agricultural sector are major areas for direct investment equity flows. Now, President for the Ghana Union Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Obin, says all these foreign direct investments should be tied to local businesses.
What we should all know is that a vibrant private sector drives any economy in the world. So it is important that we create the enabling environment that will make businesses thrive so that we take the whole economy along. And that is what we are not getting right now. That rather the private sector is being contained and that they are unable to expand. We don't have even the space to develop and grow. And that has been the problem because the excessive taxation, this is what it does to the private sector because we are not competitive. If even we want to produce as a nation, we cannot overprice our produce. That we cannot even sell our produce to the neighboring countries because of cost of the produce like the manufacturers have been complaining about. And that's why we continue complaining about excessive taxation. And we can easily also expand the tax net without necessarily putting a lot of pressure or imposing taxes on the few that have the capacity even to grow. Because they are the identified ones who can actually pay the taxes. But when we do that, we are only trying to stifle the growth of those industries which otherwise will be the driving force of our economy. Now we're talking about importation. Importation, I have a serious problem with importation because if we do more importation, it means that we are not helping our local manufacturing companies. We are not even trying to be self-sufficient.
But that is what you do.
Yes, I like that. But let me also tell you that the import that happens in this Ghana, you know, we do not own this economy. Ghanaians do not own this economy.
That is true.
That is a fact. The export earnings, we owe only about 60% as a nation. The rest does not belong to Ghanaians. That's why we always have the problem of foreign exchange because it goes and it does not even come because the money does not belong to us. Importation that we do, the excessive importation, only about 20% is for the indigents. Over 20% and the 80% all belong to foreigners. And so, whilst we are talking about exports being in the hands of foreigners, the foreign dominance of this economy, you think about communication. This communication industry, the money that goes there, even the banking is not in our hands. We talk about oil, we talk about gold and all that. we are not getting the benefit thereof. And that we have to even think about that. So if we think that we are doing excessive importation, that is not helping the economy, there's a way to do that. That's what we have to use our regulations, our investment laws, and the rules and regulations to contain excessive importation. Now we are talking about import substitution. It's in the right direction. If we are able to identify where we have the comparative advantage as a nation and even support those industries so that we become a hub of manufacturing of those identified products, then of course we have a way. And then, of course, government should do everything so that Ghanaian businesses or investment, foreign direct investment, should be tied up with the local businesses.
Okay.
General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union, Edward Kariwe, is also calling for a national discourse to find lasting solutions to address Ghana's economic challenges.
I think that we are applying an outmoded economic development policies to try to develop ourselves. You know, if we think that we can still go with this fixation that you can generate revenue by increasing your taxes and tax the same people all the time, certainly it is telling us that it's not working. You know, yes, revenue will automatically come up, and it will come up when your capacity to generate the revenue is strengthened, you know. But it's not just about how much you are going to tax the person that would necessarily translate into your revenue. When the person does not have capacity to do what? To contain that tax. You know, so I would think that we need to review our economic policy to know that tax is good to generate revenue, but tax should not be the first call to generate revenue. It is rather to empower production to go on. Unfortunately, the figures as we receive them from the Statistical Service are not giving good account of what is happening in production. You know, all the productive areas are declining, and yet they are the very people that you are taxing. You know, and as I indicated also, it seems they are not interested in getting to those who are not paying taxes at all. You know, of course, I pay my taxes all the time. You know, and any consumption I do, I pay taxes on it, you know, and even people who I give money to feed also pay taxes on it. So all the time, even when you are sleeping, you pay tax. When you are awake, you pay tax. You pay tax in the morning, you pay tax in the afternoon, you pay tax anywhere you go, you pay tax. You know, and that is not how you can grow the economy. I think that we need a national discourse to actually fashion out an appropriate economic development policy for this country. You know, the way we are moving on and thinking that it is only taxes that can generate the revenue that we need, of course we are killing businesses all over.
In May 2023, Fitch Solutions forecast that the Ghanaian economy will expand by 2.9% in 2023 after a growth of 3.1% in 2022. Fiscal austerity, high inflation and restrictive financial conditions will dampen private consumption and investment through 2023, clouding economic growth prospects.
We're back on the AM show, and we're talking about those faulty traffic lights that create quite a melee, a chaotic scene in many parts of not just Accra, but different parts of the country. Now, if there are certain routes you ply, as noticed by the Daily Graphic and per our own investigations, you would realize that it becomes pretty problematic navigating your way through. Everyone wants to go at the intersection, and usually what you would find is an accident or two. Today we ask why the situation is what it is. The Daily Graphic alone, in its latest account, went through 14 major intersections and noticed that 123 of these traffic lights were faulty. We spoke to Urban Roads, the Daily Graphic spoke to Urban Roads, and the result was that, well, there was nothing basically that they could do. It was out of their hands. In fact, when contacted, the Department of Urban Roads did not seem to have any remedy in sight, as it maintained that it was more expensive repairing traffic lights than installing new ones. So this morning we ask, how do we get around this conundrum, this situation? Joining us for a conversation, we have Cecil Gabra. He is CEO, Top Tech Transport and Logistics. He joins the conversation. We also have David Adonting joining the conversation this morning. A very good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Ben.
Morning.
Good morning, my very good brother and friend David.
It's been a while, Cecil, since we last had an interaction. It's good to hear from you this morning. I'll start with you, Cecil. So, looking at the traffic situation, I know you go around town a lot. What have you noticed in terms of the traffic lights that you can share with us?
Ben, the situation is very, very chaotic, very serious, and it needs to be looked at. As I'm talking to you, I just had to sit in my car for this conversation because today I'm working with the La Police and we have an intersection at La Palm directing traffic. It is very, very serious, and then I look at it and ask myself, why should this happen? Right, this is... let me give you the example of what is happening here. Vehicles are from Teshi, Ndungwa, Tema, heading towards Accra. And then we have this intersection at La Beach Hotel. And you have other commuters also coming from the Bemakam area, joining either to La or turning left to Teshi. The road itself is bad. It's under construction. I don't know when they are going to finish this construction. The traffic lights are not working. At least I was going to ask the simple question, why should it, why can't they turn it on and in temporary, even if it's construction, so that can save lives? You have school children trying to cross the road and we have to hold their hands. Market women trying to cross the road, and it is so serious. Drivers who are also driving here are not patient at all. We find they are late to work and they are rushing. And then in Ghana, I always say that we do not have any respect for pedestrians. So traffic lights in general, everywhere in Accra, I haven't spotted anywhere that do not have any problem. If it is even working, timing and so on are wrong. But however, I've been speaking to my very good friends. I cannot mention the company's name, but then they are in charge of this traffic lights. And then he has mentioned a lot of things. That, look, it is due to vandalism. People are stealing equipment. People are stealing cables. People such as mentally derailed and so on are also burning refuse. And in that same area, power fluctuations, so many issues. And the major issue is that the government of Ghana is owing them. They cannot no longer use their money to do these repairs and so on of the traffic lights to work. But at the end of the day, Ben, what are we looking at? We are looking at road safety, which is our goal. David will tell you the truth that we don't want to see anybody dying out of accidents. But then if people are trying to cross the road and they'll be knocked, and then drivers are also trying to drive and then use the intersection properly, and then they will have accidents. So where are we going? Are we talking about road safety? Something must be done. Right. I do believe the Minister of Transport will be listening to us at this time, and then if the Ministry of Finance is also listening to us, let's all come together and solve the issue of traffic lights, because we cannot drive without intersections. Wherever you are going, definitely you meet an intersection, and then the only way out is that traffic lights must work. So it's a major issue, major concern at the moment.
You see, there's the individual element. You and I must be responsible when we use the roads. I mean, from time to time, you would see someone who has veered off the road, whether tired or drunk, and maybe hit a traffic light or some other portion of the stretch. But some of the things that you mentioned, people who do not have I don't want to use lunatics. I was trying to find a better option. Our brothers and sisters who are facing mental challenges. First off, they shouldn't be on the streets. And there should be an entity, whether social welfare, and they are very ill-equipped, but government should see to it that these people are not on the streets. Unfortunately, they are. So if they end up at these places, and you would see a lot of them sometimes taking a shade in the sun there, basically inhabiting that portion where there's a traffic light, and some of them burning stuff there. Whose fault is it? They shouldn't be there in the first place. You see, you talk about some people stealing cables. If we know of this, how are we putting in place the right mechanisms so that maybe we have some sort of security detail, not human beings, but some security installments around these traffic lights so that they are less vulnerable to such, attacks or dismemberment? I'm just thinking aloud that we seem to do things in a shoddy manner, and then when the worst happens, we say, oh, but the people are doing this. Shouldn't we be doing more as government on this? Urban roads on this?
Ben, I agree with you, especially the issue of social welfare and so on working so well. But then if you look at the country itself now, it looks like nothing is working. And I ask myself, why is it? Because we are an economic hardship. But whatever it is, people are being paid, and those concerns must also work. Because right at Princess Runabout, that's the Coca-Cola Runabout, there is this mentally derailed person there. Every morning for almost about 2 months now, he's just pouring sand, white sand on him. And if you see him, you would not even think there's a human being there. And he's there. Every morning we see him, right? He's just pouring sand on him, white sand. So, who is responsible? Is it the police or social? So I ask myself, if this person is close to a traffic light, obviously he's going to start maybe cooking. And at the end of it all, it will be disastrous. So something must be done. People must work. And I know people are being paid, especially those working with government entities must work, must do their work well. If they're not doing their work well, then obviously we'll have traffic lights, cables being stolen, vandalism, theft of equipment, cables, burning of refuse, and so on by all these mentally derailed people. So something must be done. That's it.
Something must be done. Let's start from the standpoint of the National Road Safety Authority. Fortunately, we're joined by engineer David Adonting, and he is with the National Road Safety Authority as Acting Director General. Thank you so much, Engineer Adonting, for joining the conversation. You have heard already what we've started talking about, the traffic lights. You also interact a lot with urban roads. I find it interesting when urban roads, in response to the Daily Graphic, says they don't see any remedy in sight because repairing the traffic lights is much more expensive than installing new ones. Does that mean we basically have no way out of this situation?
Good morning once again. Thank you very much. Good morning to my good friend and brother, Cecil, who I must say is a very strong road safety advocate, supporting me in particular and supporting the entire National Road Safety Authority.
Mr. Adonting, I would appreciate it if you could speak a little louder. I'm struggling a bit to hear you.
All right. Now, I'm saying that I appreciate this particular opportunity, and thank you so much, and good morning to you all, including my colleagues and friends. Indeed, the question of the traffic lights, the relevance in terms of road safety, I think it's something we have discussed it a couple of times. And we all know how important it is for our intersections, especially the major ones, to have traffic lights functioning at all times. Day, night, morning, dawn, at all times, they must be functioning. Because it is a space that we all share. And so it is this traffic light that regulates our movement in a manner that every approach would have some little time to move across the space safely, without which we record a number of crashes. And indeed, I must say and confirm that in Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi, and all the cities where we have traffic lights, the absence of these traffic lights in terms of not functioning have caused a lot of crashes and adding on numbers to our statistics. And so, the issue cannot be overemphasized if we want to talk about traffic lights. I must thank Daily Graphic, for yesterday, Monday, bringing the whole issue up for all of us to speak around it. The National Road Safety Authority, as you are aware, we have advocated a couple of times, we have followed up to the Department of Urban Roads, we have said it and said it severally that whatever the problems are must be addressed so that we have traffic lights functioning. Now, Department of Urban Roads have come out. I think this is not the first time. We all know, and they have established the fact that people are vandalizing, we have hit and run, people are also stealing the cables, the port control board, and all these reasons have been given, including the inadequacy of funds to pay these contractors who repair or service the machine or the traffic lights generally. I think these are clear reasons that have been given by Department of Urban Roads, and we all know about this. Now, when the issue came up this week, and all of us are speaking around it, we made a follow-up to the Department of Urban Roads again. And yesterday, we had a meeting with the Director of Urban Roads, and he has confirmed that there has been a crisis meeting where the Minister of Roads and Highways has earmarked, or in the process of earmarking, some money to pay the contractors who are owed, so that they can quickly fix some of the traffic lights that are not functioning. To me, it came as a good news to me, because the bottom line of it all is that we need the money to fix them. Even if they have been stolen or they have been vandalized, it still requires money to fix them. If you don't have the money, there is no way we can fix. So whatever reasons we give, I think the most critical of it is that the responsibility has been assigned to some contractors to be monitoring, changing the bulbs, installing them, reinstalling, fixing whatever problems that we encounter, and so on. And it's all about money. So if the Director of Department of Urban Roads from the yesterday's meeting that we had is confirming that they are about releasing some money to pay the contractors, then it is good news for me and good news for all of us. Now, in the interim, we collaborate with the police to take care of the situation by providing men 24/7, including some young men that we have trained them from the National Service Secretariat, and they are also supporting. And this is how we have been managing the situation in the past number of years, wherever we find the situation very bad. And thank you, Mr. Cecil and the team, for helping this morning at the La Junction. In fact, it is not only the La. There are a couple of critical intersections where we have this problem. And at any point in time, when our monitoring team brings to our notice, we call the police, we all move quickly and put some men there. And that is what has saved the situation till now. So I would say that we are working very, very, very hard on it. It is not a situation that we all accept. It is very worrying. Indeed, especially if you see currently that we have our statistics dropping systematically for the past 17 months. We have to do everything to sustain and maintain the reduction trend in our statistics. And intersections appear to be one of the critical zones where we record most of the crashes, especially involving motorcycles, where they get knocked down, pedestrian knockdowns. All these are areas that we are very much focused, trying to see how we can support the Department of Urban Roads and the Ministry of Roads and Highways to come very quickly and fix them. And so I think some effort is being made. I must confess that.
Some efforts definitely being made, but you look at, reference what Pat Oni, who is the road safety engineer of the Department of Urban Roads, what she says. The number of things she cites, some of which we've already spoken about. So she talks about some of them being stolen, that is the cables, or damaged by rodents. She talks about fires and rodents. I want us to focus on that because she makes mention of the fact that while it is more expensive repairing these than installing new ones or the initial installation, the bit about rodents, you know why the rodents are there? It's because of the choked gutters in different parts of Accra, for example, around the Graphic Road, for example. So the rats or the mice gnaw at these wires, these cables, and destroy them. In terms of the fires, and of course that is also on the back of the poor sanitation in Accra. Again, it says that some of these hawkers and others even go as far as burning their rubbish in the controller chambers of the traffic lights. So most of them even go to the extent of burning rubbish in the controller chambers, thinking they are empty chambers, thus destroying the cables. These are some things we can do something about. Wouldn't you say?
I agree with you. Because, you see, when you install a traffic light, it's a public facility. It is a government facility. And it must be protected. It must be maintained. It is the same way as we see the road infrastructure. The pavement, when we get potholes and they get damaged, we have to find a way of patching the potholes or fixing it. The same way as we have road signs. When a road sign becomes defaced or is broken, somebody hits it, somebody gets it vandalized, or it is stolen, we have to replace it. Now, it is because we haven't found a way of protecting these facilities. Perhaps it is not a priority for us to have our eyes on these things, whether we are the police or individuals. Anytime we find people standing around these facilities and doing one thing or the other, perhaps we all get the impression that they are repairing or doing something to make it better. In actual sense, some may be vandalizing as we are standing there watching, because we do not know the implications and how they do these things. Usually you and I will go and sleep. The next day we come, it's been stolen. Now, if a mice or a mouse is eating some cable or kind of damaging something, you and I will not see. So I think it's a matter of we having a very strong maintenance policy, maintenance practice. Every facility must be protected and must be maintained. Now, in Ghana, it is the police that we all have, they have the mandate to protect public facilities. But I do not see that we can have the police standing around a facility, a traffic light for that matter, for the whole day, 24 hours, watching it. So it requires that we as individuals and the public, we should also try and support the police, try and support the Department of Urban Roads by watching these facilities. It is ours. It belongs to Ghana. It is for government. So when even people damage them by crashing them through an accident, for that matter, we should let them replace. And that is what the law says. If we find that it was done as a matter of negligence or responsibility, then we should let the fellow pay for it. Once you pay for it, it is installed. So I'm saying that we should all now show some kind of responsibility. Let us see how we can support the Department of Urban Roads. Of course, they are the primary agency that is responsible for. But I know that we can all help. We keep watching. We keep finding out what the problems are, bringing to the notice, to the attention of all of us, and then we can go dealing with. So we now know the problem. We should look for the solution. One is that very soon the Ministry of Roads and Highways is releasing money to pay the contractors to fix the traffic lights. And I think that is good news. That is one. The next thing is that once we fix it, we should not watch on for miles and people to come and damage them again. And so we should all be watchful of how we can support government to protect government facilities. And I think this one, I throw it to every individual, motorists, passengers, pedestrians, drivers. anytime we are passing around a traffic light in particular, when we see somebody around this thing, we should show some interest, some concern. If we find anything that suggests that there is some kind of vandalization, distrust, and for that matter, somebody trying to do one thing or the other, and we are not too sure, we should bring to the attention of the police. And the police will act very quickly to ensure that nobody damages or steals anything around traffic lights. In any case, if we should have one or two, prosecute them, and they are made to go through the rigors of the law, hard punishment, it will serve a purpose for anybody who has any intention to go and damage a traffic light for that matter.
Right.
I think we should all be working together to get this thing addressed.
Engineer, I don't think, hold for me. Coming back to Cecil Gabra, now, you will notice that there are different categories in which these traffic lights fall. There are those that blink both amber and green at the same time, those that blink both amber and red. I've seen those, a lot of those in recent times. Those with their bulbs burnt out, making it difficult for pedestrians, especially children, to cross. Now, on the bit about some burning their refuse within the controller chambers of these traffic lights, among others, then the bit about rodents and sanitation. How much more do you feel we should be doing, whether it is the National Road Safety Authority or urban roads, in terms of education, educating the people? Because, look, if the sanitation is poor around those areas, it will breed rats in our sewage systems. And ours are open. The rats go in there and they gnaw at these wires. We know what rats and mice do. And basically, from where you sit, if we don't address this threat of very faulty traffic lights across the country, but mostly here in Accra, what could be the impact? How could it hamper the gains we've made in terms of reducing road traffic accidents? Cecil.
Thank you so much. And I guess Engineer David, I don't think has said a lot, especially on maintenance culture. I mean, that's one major issue where we all have to be part of it. We must be our brother's keeper. We don't pass and see somebody vandalizing and then just say, oh, look at him, he's spoiling it. And so we should try as much as possible, if it's really possible, arrest. And then such people who arrest those causing all this vandalism must also be rewarded, just like whistleblowers and that we have in this country who are awarded, okay? Because it's really sad to see what really happens. But as I was talking to you, something has just happened at the intersection, and I would like to share it with you. There's a young man who came on his motorbike and went to the box, that's the controller, and then switched it on for a while. All of a sudden, the lights were working, and I approached him and I said, so what is the problem? He said, oh, they are owing us. So my boss said I shouldn't put it on. And he's left. So it means it is working. Very interesting. It is working.
Wait, so what you're saying is that at this particular place, where exactly is it?
This is the La Palm intersection, okay? La Palm, La Beach intersection, okay? Coming from Burma Camp. So the gentleman puts it on for a while, and he's locked it, and he's gone, turns it off. I think he was asked to come and check whether the thing is working, the traffic lights are working, and they are working, and he's gone. When I asked him, I approached him, unfortunately, because I was talking on phone, I couldn't engage him very well. He says, because they are owing us, we can't put it on for it to work. So the situation is very interesting now. If government is owing such a contractor, and the contractor knows the lights are working and he's not, he hasn't received his money, he has turned it off, the lights are not working. I think we should have a collaboration as soon as possible to solve this issue. David, I will call you soon after this program, because at the end of it all, if human lives are lost, then it means that we're going to have increase on numbers of deaths, of accidents, which shouldn't be the National Road Safety.
Just a quick point there. This is crucial to the conversation we're having. So you say that these people, some of these contractors, are basically manually manipulating the traffic lights. You see that,
this is what I've seen now, just about 10 minutes ago.
The danger,
he's gone.
The danger is that, yes, well, government may owe them, which shouldn't be the case, but if they are also deliberately in some areas doing this, like you just saw on the last stretch, if they are deliberately doing this and endangering human life, there should be consequences for that.
Yeah, Ben, unfortunately, the police are here. We all discussed it and said, oh, we should have caused an arrest. But then, the major issue at the moment is that traffic is so intense, the concentration is directing traffic. You should come and see. I'll send you some few pictures of what we are doing here. And it is really sad that they come in the morning at 6:30 and they have to leave around 10 o'clock and come back in the evening around 4 o'clock only to direct traffic because the traffic lights are not working at this particular major intersection. Through no fault of the police, but now we have noticed that it is working. If I have the key, I'll open it for it to work than what I see. So the situation, I'm laughing because it is funny with what I saw that somebody says the government is owing us, so I'm not going to let the traffic lights work. I mean, we need to collaborate. Department of Urban Roads, all of us must meet as soon as possible because people are dying. School children are crossing this road here. I'm wearing my reflective vest. I've been here since morning. We are all trying to help the situation. Why should this happen? Because of money. That is it. Right. So talking about this, back to what you asked, I think people must be awarded for all this to protect the traffic lights for them to work. People must get themselves engaged. Everybody, all of us. We shouldn't say that, oh, because somebody is vandalizing the traffic lights, we should allow him to go. Or hey, and here master, no, I'm not going to get closer to it. Let us all be one and save our country. The country is ours. It is not for politicians. It is ours. It is not for individuals, but it is ours. All of us. We must be involved in solving such situations.
Thank you for those important comments. There are two areas I would like to come to you on, Engineer Adonting. The first is what Cecil just mentioned. I mean, this gave me goosebumps. So some of these people manually can control the traffic lights, and because they are owed money, they switch them off at the cost of human life. Imagine the children crossing and the risk of getting hit. Are you aware of this situation? How much do you know about it? And what, after this conversation, are you going to be able to do about it by engaging the other authorities?
I think this is very strange, what Cecil has just revealed. Of course, I know that the system have been assigned to some contractors and they control. They come, switch it on, they manage it in a manner that is to be functioning at all times. And from what Cecil is saying, then clearly it means that they have a key. And they can do anything with it at any point in time when they feel like. Really, indeed, somebody came in, opened it up, and let the game. I think this guy should have been arrested and perhaps... Oh, he's gone, David. I'm sorry. He was just so smart. He came, Papa. The lights came on. We're all looking at the lights. And then, Papa...
Yes, because
when the started on his motorbike, and then he's really gone.
Yes, what suggested that he came in as a staff of a certain company responsible for it. Right. I'm highly amazed of this particular incident. And right from here, where I am now, I will go to the Department of Urban Roads. We'll sit down and discuss this particular matter. That traffic lights, the way it is now, it should not be in the hands of this contractor. It shouldn't be in their hands. No. It should be managed and controlled by the regulator. And that is the public agency that has the mandate to control it. And these days, we use electronics, digitized, automation to handle these things. We don't do it manual.
Okay.
So I'm highly surprised. But I think that this is a very good information for us, and me in particular. And I'm going to go right.
Okay. So Engineer Adonting, I just want you to hold for me, Cecil, hold for me, Engineer Adonting, because one of the major areas where we're facing this problem, the Professor J.E.A. Mills High Street, that is where my colleague Bernice Abubedu finds herself currently, and she's going to be telling us what she sees. Bernice, If you can hear me, what exactly is the situation like on the Atta Mills Highway? Well, we'll try to reconnect with Bernice Abubeido Lanza when we can get her. She is on the JEA Mills stretch, and we'll be getting to find out what exactly is happening there with that traffic light. But, Engineer, I don't think so. You were saying that right after this conversation, you're going to be engaging urban roads. You made mention of the fact that we've moved away from the manual operation of these traffic lights. They are manipulated by, or they should be, controlled by the regulator. So why do you think we're facing what we're facing? Where is the missing link?
Sure that, of course, there must be some missing link somewhere, as you're saying. Because as far as I know, most of these traffic signals or traffic lights have been transformed into an automated system where there's a whole control center at the Department of Urban Roads where they are controlling from a center, from a back office, right at the Department of Urban Roads. Then perhaps I'm tempted to believe that not all the traffic signal, traffic lights have been synchronized or harmonized, particularly the one that Cecil is currently where you are now. Because the road is under construction, it might not have been maybe roped onto the urban transport management system. So otherwise, most of them are now automated. They are now controlled at the whole control center. But I still may believe that some contractors may still have some keys or some codes to be able to manipulate, especially when it gets to times of crisis like this, to make a big case for themselves. And I'm not too sure about it.
So you're suggesting that for those from where you sit, if some of them have these keys, it could only be through illegal means that they have them?
I think it should not be the case. That should not be the case. Because the public institution is the regulator, and they must be in control. We cannot put the control of traffic light system in the hands of an individual or a private company so they can manipulate it at any point in time. If they must do some work around it, then they must be assigned by the regulator to go and handle it, even if it is repaired. You cannot have in your own way move and do things because you are the contractor having access to the facility. It must be controlled. It must be regulated. And I think I'm also picking a few bits and pieces in this whole dispensation. And as I engage them, we will have to tackle this very well so that as we move forward, we don't encounter these problems again. Because where I sit, it is very crucial to me. It's add on or better my statistics. And it is this same statistics that is making me perform. If the figures go up, then I have questions to answer. But when the figures go down, then I am excited because I can confidently come out and say our interventions are working. So I think this matter is not something we'll just have to sweep them under the carpet. We will take it up and engage our colleagues, engineers, and try to find very practical and pragmatic solutions to them. In any case, we will move with the agenda of digitization. We have to digitize. We have in recent times traveled to various countries, international, and everybody is now synchronizing their traffic light system. And so when it is green, we can manipulate in a manner that it becomes red, depending on the demand from the various approaches. I think these are innovative ways we have to now and deploy in a manner that we can all protect human life and property. So, trust me, I will engage them this very day. We will bring up to them some of the issues Cecil has raised and some of them that we have read from the daily and from other media stations where we are getting comments and input from the general public after we serve the public. And so once we have all these inputs, we will engage our team in the engineering fraternity at DUR and see how we can move things forward.
It is really refreshing to hear what you're sharing in this respect and what you will be doing. Just to be fair, final comments, Cecil Gabra. Is this any comfort for you, and what are your expectations?
Yes, I'm
forward?
okay. I had to come out from the vehicle and then take some few pictures for you to see what is really happening here. Right. So I will agree with David that, look here, we need a central automation, okay? And then central automation will mean just like we have the central cameras where the national security sits behind the cameras and then will observe what is happening. But then this time to control traffic, it is everywhere, which means that they'll look at the situation maybe from 4 to 5 and say, let us allow about 20 vehicles to use this particular lane so that we can ease traffic. That is what we need. It shouldn't be with somebody who will just come and open the controller and then test and go very funny, honestly speaking, right? We have passed that stage. We need to move forward. And after all, we are looking at one goal, which is road safety. Road safety must be our own priority to save lives, to save properties, so we can have the free movement where we decrease the number of accidents in this country. Okay. That is what we are looking at.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining the conversation. Cecil Gabra, CEO, Top Tech Transport and Logistics. We're so grateful, sir. And he is on the ground working for God and country. There's also the Acting Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, Engineer David Osafo Adonting. Gentlemen, thank you so much for making the time to join us this morning. This conversation will continue in the coming days as we seek solutions to this all-important matter. Do stay with us on the AM show. We'll be right back. Well, thank you very much for staying with us. And now we shall be talking about the National Development Conference. What is that all about? Well, Ghana continues to face many developmental challenges despite experiencing some growth rates in recent times. This conference seeks to provide that platform for us to have a national engagement on a moral vision for Ghana towards a concerted national development agenda. Now, joining us for this conversation, it's quite an honor because the person I'm about to mention was in school with me way back, the best school in Ghana, Bishop Herman College. I'm talking about Reverend Dr. Felix Dela Kluche. He is head of media ministry, that is with the Church of Pentecost, and is a planning committee member. Also joining the conversation, we have Pastor Clement Achimjima, planning committee member as well. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
It's really good to have you.
Good, Richard.
As for you, we'll do our thing after the show is done. But this whole National Development Conference, let me start with you, Dela. Yeah. Why this bit? Is this the first time it's coming up?
Sure.
As far as the Church of Pentecost is concerned?
Sure. This is the first time. Thank you, Richard. The National Development Conference, being organized by the Church of Pentecost, it's a gathering of the movers and shakers of the various society in Ghana, where we are all converging at the Pentecost Convention Center between July 25th up to 27th, where we are bringing all stakeholders. When I talk about stakeholders, I'm talking about politicians, talking about the clergy, talking about our brothers in the Muslims community, talking about the chief directors and all those who matters in society, so that we can meet, at Pentecost Convention Center and then have a national dialogue to bridge the gap between moral vision and national, development. So this is the first of its kind. That's been organized by the Church of Pentecost. Yeah.
And for you, Reverend Achimjima, if I were to ask you, why is the Church of Pentecost wading into this? There has been criticism from time to time that the church doesn't do enough when it comes to governance and calling leaders to account. Is that part of why the Church of Pentecost is getting into this?
Yes, my brother Rich. I think that this...
The name is Benjamin, actually.
Sorry. Ben, it's a build-up. Church of Pentecost, we've been engaging with especially our in-house public leaders, including politicians.
Okay.
It started way back. So this one is the first, but we were organizing politicians' conference.
Okay.
That was our church members who are into politics and public life executives. And then we came to introduce youth political chamber, who were also grooming young people in the church who wants to aspire to be leaders. So 2023 vision of the church was to transform society, changing values, and trying to see how the church will get involved in national issues. So the 5-year vision of the church is to possess the nation. And if you are possessing the nation, then the economic indicators of the nation is also prime to us. So we are in as stakeholders to see what we can do to help all of us to make sure that our vision as a nation does not become only for politicians. All actors will be on the table to discuss how we will move forward. That is why if you see the theme for the conference is moral vision and national development. So we want to bring that moral vision aspect, and the church, I think we have the capacity to see how we can partner with government and other institutions to make things work better for us.
That's an interesting perspective that you've brought to bear. But for you, Doc, so who are those who are going to be participating in this? Who are those who are going to be speaking at this event? And for the participants, is this free? I mean, what are the dynamics? How many people are you looking at?
Ben, that's a very good question. For the participants, we are looking at journalists. So GJ will be bringing representatives.
I see.
Yeah, we are looking at the Ghana Bar Association. We've met them. They also be bringing reps. We are looking at the MPs as well. So
you're targeting the politicians.
Politicians who will be in attendance. The DCs, MDCs, all those people, chief directors at the various ministries, they'll also be, in attendance. And for speakers, we'll have the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, will be the guest speaker. And also in attendance, we'll be having former President John Ajay Kunkufo.
I see.
We'll be having the former President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. We'll also be having the Speaker of Parliament and also the Chief Justice, all coming in,
you mean the current Chief Justice?
The current Chief Justice.
Okay.
Tokono will also be coming. But it's free. The conference is free. Fortunately, the Church of Pentecost. And then we'll also be having a Sheikh Amirial from the, Chief Imam's office. Also, and also the President of the National House of Chiefs will also be in attendance. And
so this looks like a very high-powered
very, very, very
event.
And Church of Pentecost is footing all this bill, including accommodation and then feeding. And so 25th is the arrival. Then on 26th, the conference starts. That is the opening session. And then after that, we'll have about 2,000 being resident, looking at what we can do, engaging, in various dialogue, having track sessions, having workshops to see how best we can bridge the gap between morality and national development.
So I am curious. Reverend has already made mention of the theme. I want you to rehash that. And you've already spoken about the 25th and the 26th with the main event. Where is the conference going to be held? And please go over the theme for us again.
Okay, so the conference will be held at Pentecost Convention Center at Gomafete near Kaswa. And then the theme is going to be moral vision and national development.
Moral vision and national
development. Because we believe strongly that in our quest to develop this nation, we should never make a mistake to overlook our moral values, such as integrity, honesty, faithfulness, and all those things. And there is the need to be able to bridge these gaps. And you have, Pastor has said something, you know, we have about 71% Christians in this nation, but the impact is not too felt. Well, we are the salt and the light of this world. And here we are talking about corruption and all other social devices. And when you look at all those things, the church got to be relevant to society. And so we believe strongly that a church founded on moral principles, having this kind of population, bringing all this segment of people together to chart a national cause for national development, I can never overemphasize. So it's very important that we have this particular conference. Yeah.
Rev, so in the course of this conference, what can we expect? What can we look forward to? Just give us a taste of what is coming on the 26th.
Yeah, one thing that we as planning committee, we are envisaging and trying to see God help us to come to is we have to be honest with ourselves that we've not done well as a nation. That honesty should be there. And we are also praying that we are not going to enter into shifting of blames to anybody. We all have to accept that. We have a role to play. And where we are now, it has taken all of us to get to where we are now. So how do we move from there and then become better? That is the honesty that we want everybody to come there, to be naked. I use that word somewhere, that we have to be naked and know how we clothe ourselves again so that our nation will pick up for us.
And the serious challenges we face as a country are here with us. It's only with that moral vision and that ability to put our shoulders to the wheel that we can get there. The Church of Pentecost is spearheading that with this National Development Conference. Gentlemen, your final words. I'll start with you, Rev.
Thank you, Ben. I want to say that we want to thank you for giving us this platform to introduce this thing through your media. We also want to invite you. It's next week. If Joy FM can give us some space to let people know what is happening over there, we'll be happy about it. And all of us should know that we have a role to play. We should not sit down and blame anybody. The reason why we have opened the network is that always we think that is the politicians who are doing it. But I think that we all have a role to play and we contribute to it where we are.
We're all involved.
Yeah.
Della?
Definitely, we are all involved. All hope is not lost. Ghana will work again. And I believe strongly that after the conference, it's not going to be the normal talk show, but there are going to be communiques that will be issued and will follow through, that all the things that have been said at the conference will be implemented. Yeah.
So on the 26th, all roads lead to Gomwa Fete. Remind me again, the national, the name of the facility.
Pentecost Convention Center.
Pentecost Convention Center, the PCC.
The PCC.
The PCC.
PCC.
And that is where
3,000
it's
people
going down. About 3,000 people will be there. You can expect His Excellency the President also to be there, together with other political and stalwarts from all walks of life will be there. Those who joined us for this conversation today, Reverend Dr. Felix Della Kluche. He is head of media ministry, the Church of Pentecost, and a planning committee member. We also had Pastor Clement Achimjima, a planning committee member. They joined us for this conversation. But stay with us. When we return, it is Cues and Lyrics. Now, it's a Joy Prime Music reality show aimed at entertaining its viewers and grooming musical talent. We'll be telling you a lot more about that right after the break. Well, as we wrap the show, we're going to wrap it on a fantastic note because guess what? We're talking about Cues and Lyrics, that Joy Prime Music reality show aimed at entertaining all viewers and grooming musical talent. Now, it began with 12 contestants who had gone through an 11-week period of grooming. 7 fell off along the way, and now there are only 5 standing. They are set to slug it out for the ultimate prize of 20,000 Ghana cedis in cash, an all expenses paid trip to Dubai, and a recording deal. Now that is mouth-watering. The final is slated for Saturday, the 22nd of July, at the Silicon Production Studio in Tesano. Shall I imagine that? 20K, trip to Dubai, recording deal. Why not pay? So Tragan, TM Music, Kwabena Mufasa, Lemuel, and Lovette are the final 5 who have made the cut. And today we're hosting Lovette and Lemuel. Lovette?
Hi.
Welcome aboard. There's also Lemuel. Yes. I was just interacting with him. I was yanking his chain, pulling his legs. So Lemuel is a biblical name.
Yeah.
Where in the Bible can you find Lemuel?
Oh, you can find it in Proverbs 31 verse 1.
Proverbs 31 verse 1.
Yeah.
What does Lemuel mean?
Lemuel actually means a man consecrated to God.
A man consecrated to God.
Yeah.
So you're a consecrated guy.
Sure. With a full focus.
Okay. Your mind day.
Your mind day.
Okay. So let's get into a conversation. I'll start with you, Lemuel. They say ladies first, but because of your name, I'll start with you. Since your mind day, what kind of music have you brought to bear on cues and lyrics? First off, how did you hear about cues and lyrics? And throughout this journey that you've come, what has the journey been like? What kind of music have you been singing?
Okay, so thank you so much for the opportunity to actually have me here on the AM show. And also I want to thank all my viewers, my fans that are watching me from La Paz 6 to 6. Shout outs to everybody.
All the fans from La Paz 6 to 6.
Yeah, so to everywhere. Nima, Newtown, bless up to all you guys. Yeah, so first of all, I had cues and lyrics to a friend.
Through a friend?
To a friend. So I was fortunate to be part of those who actually ran the ad for the show. So after that, my friend contacted me that, we should try and pass through. I've not been to any reality show before.
This is your first?
This is my first. All I've been doing is only social media, competitions, contests. That's what I've been doing. Okay. But I've not come on television for any reality TV show before. So this is my first, actually. So it was through a friend that I got to hear about the cues and lyrics. And then my journey so far, it has been great. So many twists and turns. I
mean, you've made the last 5. Why wouldn't it be great?
Oh, it has been great. So many twists and turns, so many ups and downs, a whole lot. But it has all bottled up to give me a great experience. Yeah.
For you, Lovette, how did you hear of this program, this reality show?
First of all, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. So I was at work, I closed from work, yes. And I was just home watching status. And then I saw a friend post. Actually, I think she works with Tygon Creation. Okay. So she posted about, she was singing. She mostly posts one of those stuff. Tygon Creation have a lot of setups. So I thought it was just one of those things. So I asked about it and she was like, oh, Joy Prime is having an audition there. Contesting for, so I was like, okay. I was not tempted to go. I love singing, but my passion is in acting.
Oh,
yes.
I see.
I just sing.
So you're multi-talented.
Yes, I just sing at church, mostly at church.
Okay.
So I wasn't feeling the urge to go for the competition. But my friend was like, Lovette, just come and give it a try. Funny enough, I was the last person to, audition.
The very last one.
The very last one. And
we saw the queues, the number of people who thronged to the place, young, old, everybody who came there.
Yes. And when I was going for the audition, I had one thing in mind. Because I know I'll be the very last person to get there, so I needed to create an impression that nobody's going to forget. And people always say I look like Jackie, especially when I wear my French wig. So I had to put that on, dress like her. So people saw me and they thought I was Jackie. I actually saw the queue, but I bypassed everyone, so nobody stopped me till I had to speak to someone.
Oh,
and
you
like,
got some courage.
Yeah. So I heard it through a friend, and God being so good, I'm here.
So that's interesting. What has your journey throughout this been like? Have you been singing Jackie songs?
No. Okay. During my audition, I did sing one of her songs, but when you go into a competition, you have people to, you know, direct you to which music is good for a competition and which is not. So, so far I didn't do any of the songs.
Okay. So let's talk about your musical repertoire, if you like, and those songs that you've been singing up to this point that have made you make the cut to the last 5. Lemuel, I'll start with you.
Okay.
On that musical journey. And what has this been like? I've been watching some of the guests, Bogod and others, ripping into you and saying, Charlie, and all of that. What has that experience been like? And how has that impacted your music, the music and your performance?
Okay, so I'll start off with my music journey, what I've been doing so far. You know, I can never forget my roots. That is a high life music.
Okay.
So I've always been doing that, and I've always been in the live band. I have a band that I roll with. We go to pubs and then we event. We go and play for them. So I'm a kind of a live band kind of guy. So and then my genre, the first genre that I pick is the high life.
Okay.
So I've been doing high life songs there, and then when I come down to the next item, that is the next genre, that is dancehall and reggae. I don't joke with that as well. So
is Stonebwoy one of those who inspire you?
Very well.
Immediately you said live band, and then you mentioned high life and dancehall. I knew he would probably be one of those.
Yeah,
I see.
Yeah, very well. So these were the songs that I've been performing so far. If it's not high life, it's Afro. It's how do we call it? Dancehall or reggae. I think it was one time that I did Afro in there. I love Afro too, but hey, when it comes to my scale of preference, I don't joke with these two.
I think maybe I would at some point I would have you guys give me something, a little skit, and then I'll see whether maybe you could perform a Camido song at some point. Maybe the Afro fusion at a point. But for you, Lovette, I nearly called you Jackie. For you, Lovette, what sorts of songs have you been performing, and how has that impacted your singing ability in the course of these 11 weeks?
Okay, so like I said earlier, my focus wasn't really on music. So when it comes to genre, I'll say I do mostly Afro, pop, high life. But with high life, I haven't practiced with a band before. So being on cues and lyrics gave me the exposure. You know, how to work with a band and all that. It was a whole experience for me. So actually, I would say my genre is Afro pop. But working with a live band, I think I'll now change it.
It's not easy doing live band music.
Yes.
It takes a lot. Yeah. What has that experience been like for you?
It's been quite challenging. Yes, very challenging. You know, there is a time. There came a time where, especially the drummer Nanaya. Thank you so much, Nanaya. You know, Nanaya actually helps me with arranging songs. I mean, my performance. Okay, I choose this kind of song. Love it. The song is too down. Why don't we add a little bit? Like we'll add the drums here. We'll do this here. We'll do that here. And then sometimes, because I haven't worked with a band before, I kind of feel like I'm tired. Why don't we just play the normal beat so I sing to it? But it doesn't work like that. I'm being groomed, so I have to, you know, pass through the right procedure. So it's been tough.
So I'll go back to your musical inspiration, both of you. I mean, on this journey, I'm sure you came with some artists that resonated very well with you, and then starting to sing, you were also introduced to other artists. Who would some of those artists be, apart from Stonebwoy that I hinted at? Okay, for you, Lemuel, and then I'll come to Lovette.
For me, I think it's Grams Morgan.
Oh, that's an interesting choice.
Yeah, and then big ups to Grams Morgan. I've got 3 times comment and my post being shared by him. All my performances, he has been sharing it, and big ups to him.
I think I saw them in the studio of, was it Hits, sometime a few months ago.
Yeah,
I think.
So when he was in Ghana.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was when I got a reaction from him for all his songs that I performed. He actually shared it for me. He tweeted it for me.
Wow.
And that was a big win. I saw that. So he has been one of the people that I also look up to. If I take Stonebwoy out of the context, he's also another person that I look up to. And I look up to Daddy Lumba, Kojo Wemchi. That is my high life. Daddy Lumba, Kojo Wemchi, MOG Music, Akese Brempong, all these guys are the ones that I actually look up to when it comes to the genre that I actually like. Yeah.
And for you, Lovette?
Jackie.
Jackie, obviously.
Jackie, Fave, Ira Star. I choose Fave and Ira Star because, Fave and Ira Star have a similar voice. If you're not careful, you wouldn't know who is singing because they have similar voice and their voices are so strong. So I really look up to them because I feel like there's a lot I need to learn when it comes to music. So these two, Jackie and Kwabna. Yeah.
Kwabna in there as well. Interesting mix. I mean, both of you, I see the musical influences. Before we talk about what you are planning, what you're cooking for Saturday, the grand finale, stagecraft. It's not just singing, it's the stagecraft. It's so people would react a certain way back then when Lord Kenya hit the stage, when a Samini hits the stage, when a Stonebwoy hits the stage, because of their craft, stagecraft. So it's about how they're able to handle the stage and everything they do. What have you picked so far by way of lessons on that front, which maybe you're going to bring to bear on D-Day, because you must put up your finest performance. All 5 of you are going to be trying to steal the crown, but one person will take it. Jackie, I'll start with you.
Jackie.
Love it. I said the first time that I nearly called you that, and I have called you that. Anyway, so maybe you're going to be... have you reached out to Jackie, though? Has there been any interaction?
No, not yet.
Well, Jackie, if you're watching, or if you and your team get to watch this, you have not just a lookalike, but someone who performs your music as well that you should get in touch with. She's called Lovette. So, Lovette.
Okay, so, well, I'm still putting 1 or 2 things together that I don't want to tell the public yet. Just come.
You don't want to reveal your secrets? But what can they expect?
They've seen my performances, my stagecraft. Every time I perform, there is one comment I always get that is positive. That's my stagecraft. So they should just expect more, something more, like
explosive,
something massive.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Okay. So Lovette says you can expect nothing but fireworks on D-Day, and she's going to be delivering. I don't know about Lemio. What can we expect from you? She says her stronghold is stagecraft. What is your stronghold?
We not joke.
Hey, they come inside.
Oh, we not joke.
Hey.
People know that when we step up on the stage, we blaze up everywhere. So
right.
We just keep the vibe cool. When we step up, we just kick some butterfly kicks in the air for them to know that we bring the full energy on the stage, man.
Aya. Charlie, the people didn't come to play. They didn't come to play. I felt that. Much love to you guys. So right before we wrap, I'm going to let you guys do this. Of course, D-Day is Saturday, like we've made mention of, and all roads lead to cues and lyrics as we host the grand finale. But I'm going to take a bit of a performance. You took the wind out of my sail with that bit there. I want you to perform. Do you guys have anything that you've put together yourselves, or it's always been other people's music that you've been sampling?
Okay, professionally for me, I have some songs out there already.
Okay.
I have some songs out there,
okay,
which is also a surprise. By the grace of God, when they come this Saturday, they will see one of my own songs as well. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to do this in about a minute each or less. Who goes first? This one, I'll leave it to you guys.
Lemio, please go. You are there.
Okay, so Lemio, all the cameras, all the attention, Ghana is on Lemio. He's going to be...
Sugar queen sweet, but girl, your love is sweeter. So blue juice mixed with a little ginger. Oh, girl, I wanna be with you, but you know they get it tough time for me. Charlie, lyrics now, I wanna be with you. I was like, why I can't let go? Girl, you never know, so you come back so. Man, them suffer to find your love. Girl, you never know, so you come back so. Man, them suffer to find your love. My children did not walk out down door. Coming like a thief in the night, don't you? Oh, you know, say, I don't want to get them more. Nothing you go ever need at all. My children did not walk out down door.
hitting those numbers right there. But that was a good duet, if you like. I mean, the two of you combining the voice, and you have quite a voice as well. Show us something. You've already now you've got me excited. Now I want to hear more from you.
Okay, I'm obviously doing Jackie.
Okay, let's do this. Which one?
Baby, I'm a fire, mama, come and say when me do is a minyanka mesa coho. What's a macoma fala? Say who send me Cindia, wow. I send me a metibia, would on a macume, muntina, my fana, some chatra, eh, or don't fit ya, siede, Nasueto da, na, greya, say, basa, yeah, damn me down, so I say. What for me, I groovy, you don't even care, yeah. Boy, let me just tell you this. Watch me say your love doesn't exist. Fanny say, would you do her this? No, nah. Charlie, the guys out there, don't be breaking the girls' hearts. It's so bad.
She had to end on that note. Don't be breaking the girls' hearts. Hopefully you've not got heart broken or something of the sort. But anyway, this is what you can expect. Lovette Lemuel on D-Day comes Saturday at Silicon House. Any final words as we leave our viewers? Any final words?
Personally, I want to thank my fans, my family, especially my grandmother. I call her Grandma Chibella, my auntie, Auntie Gifty, Auntie Charlotte, everyone, my friends. I nearly said something, but yes, and another boys knows. To all my lovely guys out there, thank you so much for supporting me. I love you all.
I think we all know what she nearly said, but we'll pretend we don't know. Lemuel.
Yo, what up, people? It's your boy Limo, the superstar, presenting live once again. Big ups to everybody who have been supporting me from day one. Always being with me. Charlie, if I want to mention your names one by one, we're not going to leave here. But you know yourself and I know you too. Right from day one. 6 to 6, my hood, La Paz, you guys have been supporting me. Charlie, Saturday be the finals. Please, let's count it up. Don't forget to vote for me. So the short code star 711 star 60 hash. Then you enter 99 for the next page. I am number 7. Choose the number of votes. Make payment. Charlie, let's bring the crown home. We shouldn't end here. Bless her.
6 to 6, food joints.
6 to 6, no air sports. Not air sports. Be old sports. Be hey, and the sports need you hobby.
Okay.
6 to 6 sports in the free.
Oh, okay.
So the entire area is called 6 to 6.
6 to 6 inside La Paz.
It's been good interacting with you, and I wish both of you the very best on D-Day. This message comes through. It says, Happy New Year and blessed birthday to you, Mrs. Nanaya Pepra Odum of GCB Bank High Street from Lin Shong. That is the message. And I don't know what water you drink, but I'm proffering Awake Purified Drinking Water for you. They have the perfect sizes for everybody. 330 ml, 500 milliliters, 750 milliliters, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. Now, if you're thinking of something for your office or home, then 19-liter jars are ideal. So just stay awake with Awake Purified Drinking Water. It's another quality product of Casapreco Company Limited. And the heartwarming part, for every bottle you purchase, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. So when you purchase a bottle of Awake Water, you actually donate to that kitty for people to stay healthy. This advert, of course, is FDA approved. If you'd like to purchase in bulk, just call that number, 0262 351 251. It's been another exciting installment, and we've ended on the note of cues and lyrics. Make your way to Silicon House on Saturday for that grand event. But for now, my name is Benjamin Akakwa. I've done this together with Bernice Abubedu Lanza. Joy News Desk up next.